This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a great afternoon, and most of all, welcome to the beginning of our afternoon safari. This is Sydney Fumurani Mikosi, affectionately known as Mr. Dung Beatles. I am going to be with you this afternoon, and hopefully you are going to enjoy a lot. I am together with Senzo, who is my camera operator this afternoon. You can talk to us just by following us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. My plan this afternoon is to look for the cats. I'm going to be starting by the sandy patch where the buffaloes has been spotted earlier this morning to see if maybe the lions are not around there. So it's quite very windy here where I am this afternoon. So I am very sure that we might be able to detect quite a lot of different senses from the sense of smell. Thank you very much for the warm welcome back. I am here. And I was saying the wind is blowing from all directions. I'm glad when the wind is like this. It will disturb my hearing, but it's going to help me when it comes to the sense of smell. We might detect some of the animals very easily around here. So now let's go to Steve, who is also about to kickstart this afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my vehicle. My name is indeed Steve, joined by Jean-Dre on camera. And what a windy, blustery afternoon it is. We've decided to put the roof on because it was thundering and lightning before we came out. So we decided to put the roof on to be safe. And it's very windy. We've been out for 5 minutes. We still haven't seen an animal. So places to look for the animals are going to be down in the drainage lines. And this is a good opportunity for lions and leopards to be moving about. But anyway, the Mkuhum Pride was found on Manyeleti by the Manyeleti guides at some stage today. So I doubt we're going to be able to find them this afternoon. But Sid is going to go see what he can find. Who knows? They could come back. But anyway, let's go over to Sydney, who's found a beautiful green chameleon.
I have got something very much interesting here on the road. Look at that. I have got the chameleon. This is my first chameleon this year here in Juma. The first chameleon I spotted, it was outside the game reserve the other day while I was trying to help that chameleon in order to pass the road. This is amazing. These are some of those very special small animals we don't often see. Look at that. Now I can see the chameleon is very much static and it's not moving at all. I don't want to go there. I just want to wait here because sometimes going there I might end up exposing the presence of this chameleon. So I'm just going to wait here a little bit until that chameleon go past, because I can see it's very much camouflaged with the surrounding grasses. Look at that. Look at the tail. So sometimes you can tell when the chameleon is not happy, the color changes. This is beautiful. Look at that. This is amazing. Look at that chameleon. Oh, the chameleon is falling because of the wind. The wind is too much here. So this chameleon has to be very careful. You can see he's trying with two legs, one each side. This is interesting. Look at that.
It's like he's doing a dance.
So it's like he's testing, he's learning how to walk, and the wind, when it's coming heavily, is blowing the chameleon away. So what I like about the chameleon the most is how they catch their prey. They have to stick the prey on the tongue and get them back to the mouth. That is amazing. And the eyes, look at those eyes. They are protruding and they can see something at the back while they're going, oh, look, it's falling again. The wind is blowing this. And that is true. It looks like it's dancing. That is why I told you I don't want to go there much closer, because otherwise we were not going to see what we are seeing now. Look at that. So the wind is blowing this chameleon all the time. And I can see now the color is changing. You can see it's turning yellow a little bit. So it means it wants to match with the surrounding again. Look at that. This is beautiful. Look at the tail up there for balance. I've never seen a chameleon doing this before, because mostly you will see them slow, they stop, and sometimes they are in a hurry to pass. Look, this one is showing us all the abilities and capabilities of surviving during the strong winds. Look at that. Now it's got the black dots. You can see now is that it's getting camouflaged with the surrounding. This is amazing. Look at that. This is a spectacular sighting. I am so in love with this chameleon. So the chameleon can easily get camouflaged, but sometimes if you disturb them, you can easily expose them to their predators, because some of the birds can be able to eat this. Look at that. You can see it's going now on the other side of the road. So we have spent about maybe approximately between 5 and 10 minutes waiting for this chameleon to pass. This is what we must all do. When the chameleon is passing by the road, together with the dung beetles, those that are normally on the road, let's give them a chance to pass, because those kind of animals, insects, they are part of animals. It's just that they're falling under insecta, which is a class. So these kind of animals, slow-moving animals, let's give them a chance so that they can pass, because they are so very much interesting, beautiful, and good for the environment. Let's carry on and see what we can find next. So that has been my best sighting for this season, I can promise you so far. I'm gonna do the chameleon dance one day, don't worry. Just keep watching Safari Live. I will do the chameleon dance. So now let's quickly cross over to a pet in the Masai Mara.
Afternoon, sorry about that everyone. We're just having a bit of a comms issue there, and we were trying to communicate with FC, so apologies for that first scene being a phone. But we do have something pretty interesting happening out here. We have a little jackal going past a pride of lions that we have here. Kapuli and 2 females from the Salt Lick. Ooh, 2 jackals. Ooh, very cool. Anyway, my name is Patrick. Joining me on camera, back from leave, is Bungay. And we are coming to you live from the Masai Mara here in Kenya, right down near the Tanzanian border right now. And we are here, as I said, with 2 females who we believe are from the Salt Lick Pride, and Kapuli, who we all know and love, the mystery man, the Lone Ranger. And there was a 3rd lioness as well, but she was quite a way away. We went and checked her before we actually came and saw these ones, and she was moving in this direction, but that was about half an hour ago, and now there's actually no sign of her whatsoever. So I don't know where she's gone. But Lauren did say this morning that they were looking pretty hungry and was thinking that they might be out on a hunt. I did see one of their bellies and it didn't look that famished, but then Kapuli does look like he could definitely use a feed. He's not, you know, skinny and scrawny or anything like that, but I think he could definitely go for a meal. So hopefully they do something tonight. There are a couple of topi up on the left here. And those jackals still hanging around. Oh, we can't see the topi. Nina, have I seen any lion hunts in the Mara yet? No. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I have, but it wasn't what you would expect. So it was actually when I was coming in over the Mara via plane with the first time I came here with Ollie and James. And so it was literally one of the first things I saw was about 11 lions chasing a zebra from a plane. And that was epic, I can tell you. Absolutely epic. It was only a brief glimpse, but it was very cool. Nice introduction to this absolutely beautiful place. So Kapuli seems to be hanging around with these ones. He's always got that kind of power over prides, doesn't he? He seems to be able to work his way in very well when it comes to other prides, as we saw with the sausages not too long ago. Well, let's stay with these flat cats and hope that they remain, or that they don't be flat for much longer. Let's go say g'day to Steve.
Thank you, Patty. Well, welcome back, everybody. We've decided to come down into the Mulwati itself to see if, well, we can find any animals, but it is even windier down here than it is up on the banks. So it is going to be one of those afternoons where finding animals is going to be rather tricky. So we're going to have to wait for all of you to send through some requests. What would you like to see today? And hopefully we can facilitate that. We can do lots of trees and grasses if you like, or if there's any other sort of special interests you might require that don't require huge amounts of searching. And once again, Kirsty and FC would like to see a platypus. Again, Kirsty, I have no idea whether I'm going to be able to show you one. I went all the way to Australia, I couldn't even see one there. So chances of me finding one for you on drive are very, very slim. But we can try and relate things to platypuses. Okay, jump on board, everybody. We'd love to hear from you. Someone is sitting on their game drive radio and it is getting rather annoying. Larry, you would like to see a snake? Well, the only thing that's probably going to see a snake today is that chameleon. When it's windy like this, snakes don't, well, they're not as active as when they are moving around in the heat. So that chameleon's probably got a good chance of attracting a snake or two. But let's see if we can find, wow, we found some nyala. There we go. Some stripes in the bush. They are. I wonder if Sydney told you the story about them, the chameleons, and how in traditional folklore, traditional folklore, there are lots and lots of people that don't like chameleons. I wonder, Kirst, if he did tell them anything about sort of folklore about chameleons without me having to repeat myself. But everybody would like us to go follow up on the hyenas. Well, maybe let's go have a look, shall we? Let's go see if Plonk has returned. So here we've got some nyala, and while they slowly come down into the drainage to feed, I'll tell you about the chameleon. And when you see chameleons on the ground, either they're moving from one tree to another and they've just got caught in the open, or it might be a female who's pregnant who's going to go onto the ground to lay eggs. Now, in traditional cultures, the touching of a chameleon is taboo for some of them because they believe that it is almost brings on very bad luck. If they touch a chameleon, it dies, and from the ashes of the dead chameleon, 50 or so will rise. And so that is because many people have found dead chameleons on the floor. The female chameleon sometimes actually exerts herself to such an extent, going on the ground, burying her eggs, and then laying them, burying them, digging a hole, that she actually passes away right there on the ground. That is well known to happen. And so what these traditional people have thought, if they found that, they thought, no, someone touched a chameleon, it died, and 50 more came up. But what it really is the female just exerted herself, and the eggs are now hatching from underneath the body. So it's fine to touch chameleons. Obviously, you don't want to distress them in any way. The best way is to grab a stick. Like if Sydney was on the ground there and he put a stick, the chameleon walked straight up on the stick, and they quite happily go into bushes. But handling them with your hands, they're not always too overly fond of that because, well, we smell rather funny, don't we? For example, Jandre made some popcorn before we came out. So can you imagine the chameleon touching my fingers and all the smell of popcorn on there? I think a leopard is nearby. Scare him. Scare the life out of him. Lovely nyalas. Okay, so that's a good luck. First animals for the day. Okay, well, I'm still gonna put in some efforts for the tracks around where Tanya and Talambo were last seen this morning. Maybe they've popped out, and in failing that, I will make a turn towards the hyena den to see if our naughty, elusive Plonk is back on the scene. But first, we need to get through this drainage line, so it was a good bet coming down here. Maybe we'll find something else. Okay, well, we'll just keep adding. We'll add some aardvark. The cool thing about aardvark is it's actually very easy to slip them into conversation, because, I mean, end of the day, when someone asks for special interest, you don't actually have to find them that interest. You have to discuss their ecological role in the environment. And, well, that we can do quite easily. And at the same time, I would love to show you an aardvark, everybody. I haven't seen... There's a nice male there. Nice male Nyala. I haven't seen an aardvark here with my own eyes, but we did see one from the drone, Sebastian and myself. It was during the TV show in July, I think, and we weren't able to call Tristan and or James into it because, well, we'd already caught them into a couple of leopards. So that aardvark went unidentified from the air or from the ground, but we were pretty certain from the images that it was an aardvark indeed. Well, the nyalas and many of the animals will be moving down into the thickets down here in the drainage line when the wind is blowing, because their hearing is really, really impaired out there because of the wind. And even where I'm sitting now, so nice and gentle in here. Amazing the buffering effect that trees can have, and also a little bit of the slope and the bank. Thankfully, though, we're in the drainage and we aren't having any technical signal issues, which sometimes can happen. The gremlins are on strike today, or they've gone and doing something else for a change, which is great, because yesterday they were an absolute pain. Hello, he's got some really nice grass there. Look at that. Beautiful long leaves. Now, look at him. Isn't he gorgeous? Now, nyalas are mixed feeders. They'll feed on both leaves of trees and grasses. One of the benefits that they do have against kudu. Kudu are only browsers. Apparently there's a small portion of grass in their diet, but like Impala, Nyala and Impala can switch. See, the wind's picked up. He's gotten a bit frightened. Rachel, he does indeed. That's exactly the purpose of his coloration. Not just the colors, but also the fur on the neck and the back there. It breaks up that three-dimensional characteristic. And if it wasn't for his flickering ears, he would be completely invisible. And bearing in mind, we've got color vision, so we can actually see a depth, whereas a predator, they don't see depth. They see a shape, and if the shape is broken up by fur, by stripes, by spots, anything that might break up that sort of line, then the animal blends in beautifully. There we go. He stood still again. And now you can imagine the females are even more camouflaged because, well, the horns almost stand out a bit more because they're quite shiny. But the females don't have the horns. And can you imagine running through these thickets with horns would be quite difficult. If you don't need them for defense, then there's no point in having them. Obviously, the male nyala have them for competition and for fighting against other males. You can see now he's enjoying some leaves off of a tree. Almost looks like a guarri bush there. Or could it be a whiteberry bush? It's hard to tell from here. One of the things that many scientists have done in the past when it comes to identifying what plant parts or plants animals eat is they'll do passive observation where you sit and you watch, and then after the animal's finished eating, you walk over to the plant and you identify it. It's a very straightforward sort of way. And then the second way to add to that is to take their dung itself and look at it under microscopes and analysis. And all different types of plants have got different sort of shapes and things. And I'm sure once you put your mind around it, you'll be able to identify them all with a microscope. We tried to look at some of them under the microscope, but they all look very different. Okay, well, we're going to continue on through the drainage line here. Who knows what we might find, but Patrick has been out for parts of the day already, no doubt, and, well, he is already with some predators of his own.
Yeah. Well, I do apologise for that shaky start. We had a few comms issues, but I've taken a few deep breaths and we're ready to rock and roll again. So those jackals that came past actually came very close to those lions. They have moved off now, but what I think happened was that they smelt them, but obviously they're hiding in pretty long grass right now, so they just weren't sure where they are. And then as soon as it saw that there was a scary lion there, it kind of moved off. And we also had a little bit of criminal activity happening as well. We had some topi cross the Tanzanian border without a passport. That's how close we are to Tanzania right now. We literally watched a topi cross the border illegally, might I add. So if there's any Tanzanian police watching, you got to watch out for that topi. So that what you're seeing there, that is the Tanzanian border, that little black brick kind of structure on the horizon there. Probably about 100 metres away from me, which is about 300 feet. And as we slowly pan back to these sleepy lions, it doesn't look like they're going to be doing anything anytime soon. They have been very flat. We did catch up with them behind a tree and they've moved sort of 40, 50, maybe 60 metres, just about 200 feet. Found a nice spot in the grass and have been here ever since. So we're still not 100% sure whether this is actually the Salt Lick Pride females, but it just seems like the best assumption to go with right now. Sorry if you heard a bit of a noise then. We're still figuring out this comm stuff, so I'll just have to get that question repeated. I do apologise for all of this. I know it was from CNAC, or Spess. I know it's pronounced. He told us that in Dive Live, that his name is actually pronounced Spess. Oh, he wants to know if Kapuli is harassing them and if they have a kill. No, they do not. So there wasn't any signs of any carcasses around. And Kapuli doesn't look like he's fed too much recently. So I don't think he's harassing them for food, but perhaps he is following them because male lions are notorious for waiting for a lioness to make a kill, or a group of lioness, a pride of lioness to make a kill, and then coming in, scaring them off and taking it for their own. And Kapuli, being the big dominant boy he is, could definitely pull off a feat like that, especially only around 2 lioness. So it's good to finally catch up with Kapuli. I didn't see him last time I was here in the Mara, but I've heard so much about this lion and I've been following a lot what his movements have been and watching a lot of videos and that, and it's great to finally be here with him, to be able to take some photos of him and see the great lion for itself. Well, we're going to go over to Juma to see Sydney Formulati Mokosi. What are you up to, Sydney?
I've got something here which is so very much attractive. I just want to quickly check here what exactly this flower looks like. Yeah, it doesn't smell bad. So this is the elephant ear. Look at the... You can see these kind of leaves that they look like the elephant ears. So you can see the shape there. So here, I just want to try and see, because some of these flowers, we can eat them. Some of these flowers, we can eat them and they taste very nice. So I just want to taste this one here. Yeah, it's one of those flowers that are edible and it's not bad at all. And some of these flowers can be so very much sweet. I think here I must have to just a little bit. If you can check how I'm eating this flower, you can see that I'm only eating here and I'm not affecting this inner part. The thing is, the outside part, the petals, these bright colors are there to attract the insects to come and then pollinate. So I don't have to eat this stuff here. I just have to eat these outer layers and still make sure that the flower still attract insects to come and do their job. It's not bad. This is nice. Because if I take this whole flower, then I'll be disturbing. I only have to eat the outer layers and I have to just trim them very nicely. So this is one of those plants that the flowers can be so edible and they are very much nice. Because if I come now and destroy everything, you know, there will be a problem when it... Oh, there was a bee. A bee was just... Look at the bee. There's a bee right on that one. It's just that it's so fast. The bees can be very much fast. There was a bee there doing some of the pollination. You know, the bees are so very much important. When it comes to this kind of pollination, they are responsible. And they don't only pollinate here in the wild. They even also help with the pollination of the agricultural products. So if we don't have them, then it means agriculture also get suffer. So now let's quickly go back to Steve and hear what Steve is seeing at the moment.
Thanks, Sidders. It's not only agriculture that suffers, there's thousands and thousands of plants that won't get pollinated. A free ecosystem service provided by bees. Well, here we found a squirrel. Oh, he's very quick. And the reason why I stopped for a squirrel, well, first of all, because it's an animal that is in the drainage, and squirrels are often quite reliable indicators of snakes. There we go, snakes. Like, and they sit and they look at the snake and they like do this thing with their tail. It really is quite funny. I was searching for one close to my room yesterday. Oh, there's a chagra. Oh, there's a redback shrike on the end of the branch there. Up, Jandre. Left. There he is, a redback shrike. Another one that... They also alarm for snakes. Now, this is a male redback shrike. They'll be returning north shortly. They've come down here for our summer. And a very characteristic... Oh, it's gone. Very characteristic with the shrikes. They got that very nice sort of Zorro mask. Yes, indeed. Well, the squirrel is not making any noise now, but when they do make a noise, we always think it might be a leopard, it might be something, but it quite often is a snake. Something that you can't always see, because snakes are slithery, and they do like squirrels. I've never seen a squirrel, in all honesty, but no doubt that they are there, and they probably catch them when they're not looking too well. That's a good time to catch a squirrel. Sleeping. But he was moving around, searching for some nuts, no doubt. Didn't have a marula out of an elephant dropping. Back to have another one. I wonder what he knows about what's been going on. I haven't told him.
For the inconveniences, there is some bad signals here as the bush is so very much grown at the moment. I am still around the sandy patch area. It looks like the buffaloes are gone at the moment. We have seen the tracks showing that they went much more towards the private properties. I was hoping to find the lions after these buffaloes, but now I'm going to leave this area and carry on towards the Buffalo's Hook Dam area and see if we cannot find anything interesting on the other side. I'm not surprised. In the bush, I've got to just expect unexpected. They have been spotted in the morning, but now they move to somewhere else. That is how it works. Oh, look, I've got some impalas here right in front of us. It's quite a very big herd. So when the impalas are in huge numbers like this helps the herd with the protection against predators. So the species of antelopes, they do fight a lot, especially the same species. You will find the animals, if it's an impala here, those we are seeing carrying horns, like I will show you just now, like this one. The ones with horns is the one who does fighting a lot. So, but the different species, is very rare to see the impalas fighting with the other species. So they do tolerate each other when it comes to the competition of food, because their food is so very much abundant. They have got a lot of grasses here. So there is no much competition taking place between these species. So that is a good example of the male. So when they're fighting, they use these horns. You can see they're nice and sharp. So they serve for the defense. So if you look at that impala, on the side of the head, you can see the three different colors. The dark on top, the light brown on the side, and the bright white on the stomach. The bright white on the stomach serve a very important purpose when it comes to the reflection of the heat from the ground, because these animals, where they are exposed, the sun hit the ground and the ground get quite a lot of heat, and this heat can also affect animals as they're standing. So the bright colors helps to reflect the heat. That's why impalas, you can see them active when it's too hot. They are unlike the buffaloes, which has got just black color everywhere, which is there just to absorb the heat, and reflection of the heat is not easy. That is why buffaloes are restricted to be active a lot during the daytime. You'll see them late in the afternoon and early in the mornings. So you can see there we have got the small baby says, oh, grooming is taking place. Look at that. So that impala, so they can see the impalas are now grooming each other. This is a reciprocal grooming. It's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Look, you see, that other one is killing the other one. After this one, that one is also going to do the same. Look at that. You can see. So it's not a robbing game. Here, they help each other. So now let's quickly cross over to my friend who's got a beautiful kingfisher.
Thanks, sitters. Well, we did find a woodland kingfisher there, but he flew off. And woodland kingfishers, they nest in tree cavities, just like that of squirrels. And that's quite nice to think about, because it connects all the way to this morning, where we had the, what do you call them, the longhorn beetles that we found on my vehicle, which is such a beautiful shot, the green longhorn beetle. And, well, they burrow into the wood, creating the area where the woodpeckers will dig them out. We just got an impala over there that's busy thrashing at the bushes, or is he just feeding? And so the woodpeckers will create those holes due to the wood-boring beetles, and then the habitat for many, many organisms. And obviously woodpeckers, not woodpeckers, but kingfishers, they're also quite known for keeping quite a messy, smelly nest, probably to keep away predators such as snakes. But there we have got the oxpecker busy cleaning away on these impala, who are building up their condition, because, well, sooner or later there is going to be some serious fighting amongst these males. It's sort of started. Vicky, the rut is going to sort of start now, but really the proper rut, when the females are all in estrus, are between the full moons, 2 full moons to be precise, April and May. So between the whole month of May, starting in April, so the last full moon in the month of April, and then the first, or should I say the next full moon towards the end of May. Obviously it moves a bit left or right on the calendar depending on how they fall, but that is when the full rut comes into place. So the males need to build up their condition, get nice and strong, because over the next coming weeks, they're going to start demarcating their leks or their territories, which are resource rich, to attract the females in. And in that site is where they'll do most of the breeding, most of the mating. So for now, he needs to make sure he gets all the ticks off of his body, because ticks will lead to poor condition. And he needs to be nice and strong, But he's not the biggest of males there, so he might not even compete this year. You see the horns are still quite close together at the top. It's normally males over 4 years of age that are competing. And very interesting in the dynamics of male sort of impalas in the wild is you don't get too many of them over 4. But many of them get hammered in their first year and a half. It's a very hard life being a male impala. When the rut starts, they forget about everything, completely everything. Only ladies and other males encroaching in on them. And the noises will be coming soon. Hello, Tom. Well, with regards to bird breeding, definitely. We are seeing serious changes in migratory routes and patterns due to climate change. So what that's probably going to do is because it's going to get so hot or it's not going to be that cold in a certain area, the birds are going to leave later. And if they need to get to a certain area to breed, they might leave Europe, for example, or North Africa late and then get down here and then when they get here. So then they decide, well, there's not enough resources, I'm not going to breed. Or drought conditions created by global warming could also lead to birds not getting a good enough condition to be able to breed. So definitely in birds we're seeing a climate change as a reality. Be something that we can closely watch. When it comes to mammals though, it's hard to say. They also are resource orientated. Migrations are caused by rainfall and the movements of animals towards rainfall. And well, in the Mara this last year we saw the animals not only late, but come back again from the Serengeti. They came back, and so we're seeing huge change because normally they're somewhere else, going through the breeding time, resource-rich areas where the males can basically hold on to the females for a period of time. They'll be able to mate and sort of take control. But I'm sure we're going to see changes. It's all we can do is observe and see how many changes actually happen. So I hope that's answered your question. Certainly, I think it will affect things. Also, the warming of the earth is going to affect eggs because a lot of eggs out here, there's some papers put out recently about color, about the climate that the bird is in. Now, to be able to change the color of your egg takes a very long time. You've got a dark colored egg, it obviously absorbs moisture, not moisture, but temperature. And if you're a bird that's used to having colder temperatures and the temperatures and you've designed it warming up, then, well, you're probably going to have eggs over incubating or reaching high temperatures. The same goes if things get too cold. Birds won't have evolved or adapted to be able to warm their eggs up or cool them down, whatever it is that needs. So definitely we're going to see all sorts of things happen. But we are doing another loop around the block here. Still trying to see if there's any sign of Thandi or Tlalamba coming out of this block. Let's go. I believe he's left Kaput. Let's go see where he's headed.
Well, we have moved off from the now, and we've just fine. I was just said that there's a big lion right around where we are right now, so I'm just keeping my eyes peeled. Hopefully we can pick up on it. And I was also Bongay was speaking to one of the Askaris who said that those two lionesses we were looking at are from a pride of 16. They didn't say that, they said it was 16, and they took down a hippo 2 days ago. Took down and ate a hippo. So big pride like that, I suppose. Pretty good.
Okay, Corbett, thank you. Well, we do apologise about the technical issues up there. It seems that Pat has now got the gremlins on his side this afternoon. So I do apologise about that. So I'm being spoken to in the ear. 1 second. And Saxon's just talking to me about something. I do apologise. Sorry, Sex, what did you say? Come back again. Okay, Kobe, you're most welcome. Okay, here we go. There's a lovely grey hornbill in the tree. Can you get him? The roof is in the way. Sorry, Jean-Ray. Let me move across here. You get him from the side, eh? Beautiful grey hornbill, African grey hornbill. He was just busy grooming and preening. He had his beak down by his bottom where the preen gland is, just above the rump. There he is, isn't he? Pretty. Very pretty. With that little sort of cask on top of the beak there. That sort of boombox chamber gives the hornbills acoustics in their calls, and the African grey hornbill's got a very nice whistling. I'm not Paulie. I don't have his whistling capabilities, but they are one of the whistling hornbills. Whereas the other hornbills we spend a lot of time with, the red, southern red and the southern yellow-billed, are more cackling rather than not whistling. Jean-Ray, what did you put in that popcorn? I'm feeling a little bit mad in the head today. Okay, so I'm just going to head around the block one more time. It's only today, Kirst. I'm never, any other day of the week, am I in a weird mood. Never. Just today. I think it might be the looming storm. You know, my mom always used to say when it was windy, I used to go a little bit mad. Any of you, when you were a youngster, run around like crazy when the wind is blowing? Like, woo! I do have Jean-Ray on the vehicle, Kirsty said, and he is a weirdo. Oh, he's my kind of weirdo, though, Jean-Ray. My kind of weirdo. There we go. Some nice, fresh elephant bull tracks over here. So maybe we'll find an ellie in a moment. But we are looking on the ground for any tracks of Thandi or Tlalamba. When it's windy like this, it's not only me who goes a little bit loopy, but predators definitely get that sort of let's go hunting sort of mode. You probably all know that by now. Apparently, though, Thandi yesterday morning was looking very full. So who knows? But it is incredible how quickly they can digest their food, but also how opportunistic they are, that even if they are full, if the conditions suddenly switch, like I've seen flat, full lions and leopards lying down, obviously flat, and the wind picks up and up they get and they start hunting. So it's one of those things. So we'll just have a little look-see on the ground. This is the block where I think that they might be in. Oh, that's a really big snake track just crossing the road there. There we go. It is a signed wire. It's a serpentine snake track. Can you see how it moves in the serpentine movement? Can you see that? So that is from today, because I drove here this morning. Those are my tracks from now. And so that's a snake moving very quickly across the road. Many snakes do move like that, from pythons to mambas, Mozambique and spitting cobras. But pythons and puff adders can also move in that concertina sort of way, where they just move in a straight line. And I've seen a puff adder move like this quite quickly, but they don't often do it. They often move very slowly. But that's a decent sized snake, and it's probably gone. Yes, it's gone that way because of the way it's been pushed. But in the road, we've got the other hornbills we were talking about a moment ago, the southern red-billed up ahead. They are pulling a Sydney and a Hawley. They are feeding an elephant dung, of course, and they are thoroughly enjoying it. There's a southern red-billed. There's all sorts of insects in there. I actually think that they might be doing a bit of dust bathing now. Sometimes after a bit of preening has gone on, you know, sometimes the birds can be very, very oily from the preen oil that they put on their feathers to keep themselves sort of waterproof. And so to eliminate some of that, they just dust themselves. That extracts a lot of that extra oil, and then they'll just shake it off, and all that extra oil comes off the body. So, hello snake, where are you? Q6. We do have parrots here. There we go. Let's just have a... Oh, he's gone. We do have parrots here. One of the ones that I keep trying to get on camera but have yet to do so is the brown-hooded parrot. Brown-headed parrot. Let me just find it for you here. A very nice bird. Sorry, my phone has decided to do all sorts of really weird things for me today. And now I have to sign into everything. I don't know what's... Oh, no. That's not good. Anyway, I can't use my bird app now. It's giving me some problems. But the brown-headed parrot, they also like the squirrels and the woodland kingfisher, as well as the hornbills. They like to live in cavities in trees. And they feed on pods and fruits and flower heads. They love the terminalias, the pods of the terminalias, purple pod, which I haven't found here before, pods of the silver cluster leaf, any fruits they might be able to find. Here we go, very nice red-billed hornbill there. Jumping around, he's probably been preening and then did some dust bathing. Now he's probably going to look for some food, as you do, or maybe he's going to go on a date. Bit late in the season for a date, don't you think, Chandra? Never too late. Never too late. Well, I'm just going to pull up at that little dust bath sign there to show you some of these little disturbances that the birds will create. And it's basically just a sandy patch on the side of the road. And lots of birds will do it. Lots of them will find these sort of open, bare patches that are either created through overgrazing or through a wildebeest sort of burrow, where wildebeest has been rolling around, or somewhere where an elephant has done some digging. And the birds will often roll in there to get the sand on themselves, because the sand, as I said, collects the preen oil, which it then decides to obviously then flushes off, and all of that comes off. Almost a daily occurrence with many, many birds, so as to keep themselves waterproof, including after some rainfall. Now, you don't want to get wet out here. They don't have the same sort of rain jackets we have. Hello, James. Well, yes, on the walk with Paulie the other day, there were some trumpets calling, and we saw them. We actually found them. And then last week, when I was with the Unkuhuma Pride up on the northern boundary, some flew over. But we've now got this 7-8 second delay from Djuma to Johannesburg, and a bird that's flying, it's almost impossible to get it on camera unless we live. Unless we live, it's almost impossible to get a bird flying. And the hornbills, they're not staying around here. They like more sort of tall riparian vegetation where there's permanent water, almost foresty sort of stuff. And that's where they sort of hang out. So whenever we see them here, I'm sure they're just passing from one major river source to the next. Probably the Sand River in the south, and then up to the Olifants or Timbavati in the north. I'm not sure. In the south, yeah, in the north. That's my thoughts, but I don't think they'll spend too much time here. They like much more, and they got a really big cask on the top of their head, which allows them to make huge amounts of noise. And they are definitely not the whistling kind of hornbill, because they sound like a baby crying. It's a fantastic sound. It really is. It's not really that fantastic, but it's nice to hear it, because it's not my baby, so I don't have to worry. Oh, there we go. Tracks, leopard tracks right here. Very good. Okay, they're just here on the right hand side, and these are fresh. These are fresh because I was on this path this morning. There we go. There's one. There's two. Very good. Okay, well, we're going to follow these down into the drainage, see who we can find, where they're headed to. Looks like only one at the moment, but while we try and figure out where they've gone, let's go back up to the Masai Mara with Patricia.
Well, those gremlins, those pesky gremlins, they have got me good today. So I did move off from the flat cats, and also came across another male lion. Now, it looked to me to be one of the Aldonu Paig males, but I couldn't 100% confirm that ID. It was a bit distant. But there is definitely another male in the area. So I wonder what that means for Kapuli. And yes, we couldn't show you the lion because of the gremlins as well. So I'm just going to make my way back down, and I'm just going to have a look around here. Just while those cats are staying flat, I thought we'll see what else we can find, and then circle back to them in about half an hour ago or so and see if they've made any movements from there. Steve is on the Patricia train now. Well, thanks, Steve. What's a good one for Steve? I'm not good at making up names on the spot, as you all saw with Taylor the other day. Steve. Stephanie, there we go. Stephanie the Vov, or the Vovette. Kirst likes Stephanie. Good. I think it suits him, actually. I think he'd make a pretty Stephanie. And Sydney's requesting that we call him Mr. Dung Beetle. Well, I bet you in Sydney's eyes that's probably the best name that you could call him. But to other people it may seem like an insult. So yeah, we'll just stick with that. So we've got Patricia, Mr. Dung Beetle and Stephanie out on drive today. April wants to call me Patty Cakes. Well, I mean, yeah, Patty Cakes, baker's man, bake me a cake as fast as you can. I actually used to love baking it quite a bit, so that song would often be sang to me. And Orly also calls me Krabby Patty. If anyone is familiar with the cartoon SpongeBob and the restaurant there named the Krusty Krab, and their famous burger is the Krabby Patty. And that is also what Orly calls me. And Antoine. Geez, I've got all the names, don't I? So I'm just making my way back towards camp. We are quite a way away. No, I'm not going to camp, but I'm just heading in that direction, that kind of westerly direction. And I might, maybe, we'll see how time permits, I might go into sausage territory, the Sausage Republic, and have a sniff around there, because I haven't heard anything about the Sausage Tree Pride since I had that brief encounter with Kinky Tail the other day, and no updates on them since. So I'm not actually too sure where they have moved off to, or whether they might just still be in their area, but we'll go. I love this place. Send you down to another.
Hopefully, we might see something somewhere around here. I am missing these cats as I've been. So the only animals seeing the tracks of is the elephants. The elephant has just been to everywhere. Yeah, the wind is making it very much difficult to hear from far. So, but the weather is good for the vegetation, because when the rain is coming. So now let's quickly.
Jandre. Well, terribly sorry about any technical issues you might be having there, everybody. Not you particularly, but us. Maybe it's because Patricia's not very happy that I called him Patricia for the first time. That's what it sounds like. So the tracks have come straight up that drainage there, and then they've disappeared. I was just off the vehicle now trying to see which direction they went. But we needed a few more minutes to get a good, accurate sort of idea, but it's fine. I'll just drive down this road, see if they pop out. Otherwise, I think she's back here in the drainage where we've sort of been looking this morning, which is a very good indication that there's probably a kill, because those tracks come from treehouse dam straight back towards the drainage here. So it's a very good chance. Yeah, well, it was a female leopard track for sure. But Tanya Columba, I can't tell you these days. They look so similar in size. She's still growing into her feet. But I've got a very strong feet. We just haven't yet been able to find them. Hello, Megan. I just had friends in Yellowstone National Park who've sent some amazing pictures through of all the animals in there, which looked really, really awesome. Guiding potential there is up in that part of the world. Yeah, probably an adventure guide of some sort. I really it's well enough to be honest with you. But maybe one day, maybe it's on the cards. We got an orb web. Where you got an orb web, Gendre? Gendre has spotted a spider. That looks like a leaf to me. There is there we go. There's a golden orb spider. Wherever Lauren is, she is going to freak out if she sees that. She doesn't like her spiders. But a very beautiful, beautiful spider indeed, the female. She's got the aposematic coloration to make her look distasteful to many birds, many organisms, and that very, very golden sort of web. I know it's not a snake, everybody, but it's also one of those animals that strike the fear into many people. But if you got bitten by one of these, it would probably just give you a bit of a headache. And they are seasonal spiders, the golden orbs. You see, she's actually got a junk line there. Can you see above her bottom? There's little bits of sort of remaining organisms there. They call that a junk line. It makes it much more visible so that animals will avoid the web if they can, because they might see that and think, ooh, there's a web there. I don't want to walk through. Because the web is very strong and certain organisms can easily get caught. Birds have been known to get caught in the garden orb spider. I've never seen one caught in a golden orb spider web, but they are of the same sort of family, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen from time to time. And when I say seasonal, it means that she's grown to this full size in only a matter of a few months. She'll find the male, she'll mate with him at some point, and then she'll eventually die but after laying eggs in the branch of the tree nearby. And then next season, if the conditions are suitable, hundreds of little babies will hatch out and continue the life cycle. Very pretty indeed. Kimberly, it would avoid biting you, but if you had to poke it and poke it and poke it with your finger, it might eventually bite you, but they're not known to bite. I mean, many spiders only bite when they're pressed to bite. And if you think about the size of yourself versus the size of that spider, I'm sure the spider feels far more threatened at your presence than you should feel about its presence. So invariably, most spiders don't bite you. They can be handled, but for the safe side, the very highly venomous ones, don't handle them with your hand. Very nice way to move spiders out of your house is just to take a feather duster. They attach the feather duster quite nicely, and you just take them outside, put it on the floor. The spider will find its own way somewhere else. Obviously, they just want to get away. Just like snakes, if you corner a snake in a house, they become quite aggressive. It's because they're threatened, everybody. And they're threatened by this giant creature that is attacking them. They think it's being attacked. They don't know that your screams and high-pitched squeals and jumping up and down is actually you being terrified. They think it's your killing dance or something, and obviously responding quite heavily to movement. Snakes don't see very well, so if you move a lot, freaks them out. I hope that helps. Okay, see how we're interweaving all of the snake stuff. One thing I know for certain, they won't get caught in that web, though, is an aardvark. Definitely won't get caught there. Okay, so I'm pretty certain if no tracks come out along here, that that leopard is in this drainage. It's something that I was looking this morning for one of them coming out to go drink at Twin Dams or Treehouse, and it seems like they've gone to Treehouse. Pume, you want to know the most venomous spider in South Africa? Or was it a snake? Spider. Okay, so the The black widow, or in South Africa called the black button spider, also the brown button spider, are renowned to be quite sort of venomous. So get a six-eyed desert crab spider. How crazy does that sound? That's venomous, but not easily found. The violin spider is another one. My mom was bitten by one years ago, and she had to have a fair amount of flesh cut out of her leg. That's 4. And there's another one, there's another 2 I'm forgetting. Sack spider. They've got a very characteristic sort of... And they do move around. They're probably one of the spiders that bite more people than any other spider, often catching you in your bed. So not a very nice spider, but they're not really trying to get you. They're not going, come on, human, let me get you. You roll over them and then they bite. So that is the reality. One that I'm forgetting, or maybe I've said 6. There's only really 6 spiders of concern in South Africa, but none of them are going to kill you unless you have a heart condition, or very old, or maybe a very small child. Otherwise, you're not going to get injured. But always seek medical advice. Okay, well, another animal that is surely not going to get caught in the spider webs. Pat has found himself one of those.
Well, I thought I'd pull over on the side of the road here and stop for this absolutely stunning scene. We have the elephants here, a herd of what looks to be about 6 or 7, right up against this real stormy background. So we've had a lot of bad weather kind of coming in from that direction tonight. It's been coming in waves, but it's giving it a really nice contrast to the landscape. The grass is really nice and bright, and then you've got that dark sky behind it. And then to finish it all off, just a few elephants thrown into the mix. Absolutely wonderful. Now, speaking of elephants, yesterday I was asked whether elephants can breathe through their mouth while their nose is filled with water or blocked for some reason. And I assumed that they could because it might be similar to humans. So I was right with the assumption, but the reasoning was wrong. What I found out was that actually elephants have a different mechanism of breathing to humans. So we use reverse or negative pressure, that kind of opening of the lungs. If you ever remember being in early science, early high school science, that bottle experiment where you put the balloon in the bottle and collapse it and open it up and it works like a lung. Well, that is what we use, but that is not the case with elephants. It's actually the muscles of the chest cavity that open and close the lungs that allow them to breathe. And this is why you'll not see often adults laying on their chest at all. So they've developed a lot of mechanisms to stop themselves laying down on their chest, because that can compress the muscles and completely stop them from breathing. It can be really dangerous for them. So that was a nice little interesting read I had last night. What a wonderful afternoon. Desmond, how good is an elephant's hearing? Well, they hear very well. They can communicate over very large distances using a lot of low growls and kind of unaudible sounds to the human ears. And they can also sense things from distances with their trunks, for example, vibrations or rumbles in the ground, maybe some distant thunder or anything like that. So they can also use their trunks as a bit of an aid for that as well. All right, keep on moving. So I am going to go down a little bit further. I did lie when I said I was going to go check out well, I wasn't lying then, but I actually didn't realise how far away I'd actually driven from camp. So it's going to be too much to be able to go check out the Sausage Republic. I thought I was a bit closer than I actually am. But that's okay, because we've still got those lions up the road that I'm going to circle back to. And hopefully, they decide to show us some action tonight and get up and maybe go for a hunt. There are a lot of topi in the area where they are, which would be a nice, tasty feed for them. I think the 3 lionesses could take down a topi. if they did it right, if they went about it the right way. Six and Kathy, are there any marsupials in Africa? Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure that marsupials are only found in Australia and Papua New Guinea. I believe that is, yeah, I think Australia and Papua New Guinea seem to be the only two places that have marsupials, I believe. But I don't think there's any here in Africa. Marsupials, of course, being categorised by having the pouch they carry their young with, different to the placentals. Well, I shall continue pressing on and send you to Sydney, or Mr. Dung Beetle, who also has some elephants.
I have got a beautiful sighting of a small head of the elephants here with me, and we can see in front of us is a female. I know what we are seeing there normally is associated with the males, especially when the males are on mast. But today you can see that also the females, when they are not happy mostly, or when they are disturbed, they do secrete this, what is called a temporine. Temporine comes from a temporal gland on the side of their head. So it's a sign of stress. We don't have to always associate this with mast. Yes, elephant on mast, males, they do secrete that, and that is where people see the temporine a lot. But also females and the youngsters who are not ready to go on mast can also secrete that as a sign of a disturbance. So you can see very big animals can easily hide these days because of the bush. It is so very much thick here at the moment, and these elephants are concentrating a lot on these grasses. So the grasses, when talk in terms of the protein, they only generate up to 4%, whereas the trees, big trees, they do contain up to 8% of protein. So it means they must have to make sure that they balance both grasses and the trees in order to get a lot of energy. So look at that. So the elephants, they start to lose their body weight when they're about 50 years, because 50 years is when they start to warn some of the teeth, and when these teeth are coming out is when now they are going to have a problem, because elephants, the digestive system works like ours, similar to the zebras. Digestive system on elephant start from the mouth. As they are chewing, the digestive system has started. So you can see that I have to improve this sighting, because now these elephants are just hiding behind the bushes. So I'm just going to carry on a little bit forward so that we can improve this sighting. Lauren, that is quite a very interesting question, and I'm going to tell you from my own experience on that. I'm not going to explain what I have heard. The elephants, they do throw things on cars sometimes. At one stage I was on a game drive. That was many years ago. It was 2008. I was on a game drive and I was enjoying this sighting. It was a fantastic sighting. The elephants were happy with my presence. But this elephant was feeding, and there was a branch, a broken branch, piece of branch. The elephant suddenly grabbed the branch and threw it to the vehicles. So we had to dive and leave that elephant, because from there, then the elephant started to show that it's not happy. So these animals, you must have to be very careful, because sometimes they are unpredictable and you will misjudge the situation. So you must have to be very much vigilant when watching the wild animals. So they will surprise you. They have surprised me on several occasions. Not once, not twice. When he's feeding, no problems, and just pick up something and throw to the vehicle. That is normal. But you must understand, these animals are wild, and coming to visit them in the wild is in their natural habitat, whereby they can just do as they please, and we have to accept that and keep a distance. So when we are here, sometimes animals, they manage us. This is their natural distribution. We do manage them, but they also manage us. And we have to understand, accept being led and managed by these animals in their environment. So you can see, as I indicated, that they are eating quite a lot of grass. Look at that. So elephants are too clever. Sometimes when they pick up the grass and the roots, you will see them shaking the trunk in order to get rid of the sand, because they don't want to digest that. So now the trunk is working a lot. So you can see that he's serving as a very important tool for them to eat. Rosalind, that is quite a lovely question. The elephants, they do go on mast when they are matured. Yes, they reach maturity when they are about over 12 and a half years, but the full maturity is when they are over 20 years. Over 20 years is then that you will see them starting to experience the unusual behavior, which is also facilitated by the hormones such as the testosterone hormone, which is responsible for the sexual desires. Not only sexual desires, it is the one which also grow the horns on some of the animals. So the testosterone has got quite a lot of different functions. So that hormone is the one which facilitates the elephant to go on mast, which is then an unpredictable condition. So when on mast is when elephant can easily get irritated, and that is when they do sometimes chase vehicles. They are very much impatient and they don't want to be disturbed. When on mast, you can identify that from a distance. An elephant on mast, you will pick up a strong smell because they urinate over their back legs, and that urine, it can come out to 8 liters a day. And apart from that, you will see them when walking, they will be staggering. Sometimes you will see them with the head held high and they cool the trunk. Sometimes you'll see them walking with 5 legs. When with 5 legs, you must keep a distance because it's telling you that he's on that kind of a stage, mast, and that tambourine coming out from the side of the head. So if you look at that one, you can see the side of the head is nice and gray and is dry. So this is telling you this one is not stressed yet. It's nice and clear, you can see that. So the elephants, they've got very big ears. And big ears not only to the elephants, they browse us in general. All the animals who feed on leaves, they have to concentrate deep in the thick bushes. So the large ears helps them to collect a lot of sound so that they can hear predators stalking them from a good distance or a long distance. So this is a very nice gift. They look big, but they are serving an important purpose. The elephants are very much peaceful animals. So if you give them a good distance, they won't give you any problem. They are protective, yes, when they are when having babies, and the behavior also change when they are on mast. Look at how that one is selecting those small piece of trees there. So if you look at the color of this dead tree next to the elephant and the elephants, they all look the same. So that elephant is camouflaged. So the elephants can be very camouflaged now when he is behind that branch. So if you can check during the dry season, the trees, they turn gray and they look more like elephants. During the dry season, sometimes it can be difficult to see the elephants. So, but if you look at their body coloring, it's not specifically meant for camouflage, which means for an animal to be considered camouflage is when that animal is matching the surrounding. Safari Sally, if you look at this elephant, we're going to show you something now. I have got my professional camera operator here. He will then zoom in. Look at that elephant. You can see they've got some eyelids there, and those eyelids helps to protect the eyes against some of the things entering. And again, you will see those eyelids sometimes with dust, and you will also see them when having some of the mud. Their eyes do get affected sometimes. You will see elephants walking with some of the white. That was amazing. Did you hear that? That was nice and loud. So that was a rumbling, and this elephant is trying to communicate below our hearing. So I heard a very interesting sound from this elephant rumbling just now. I was saying the elephants, yes, Safari Sally, if you look at the eyes, they've got very dense eyelids which helps them in order to protect the eyes. And apart from that, they also help to protect against the mud as well. And also, if you look, elephants, they do experience some of the eyes-related problems. When the elephants has got the white things coming out of the eye, which is like a sand eye, sometimes it's part of is when their eyes are affected. So I wanted to check the trunk. The elephants, sometimes you will see them with the knobs. You will see elephant with the knobs on the trunks. So if you see the elephant with the knobs on the trunk, if you investigate, you might find that that elephant lost a mother when he or she was still very young. If the elephants don't get enough milk when they're still very young, they do have a deficiency which affects the trunk. Because of lack of milk, then it is going to develop some knobs on the trunk. So the lack of milk when they're still young will then show the symptoms when they're growing. So this one you can see she was well fed when she was still very young. The elephant skin, Desmo, is so very much thick. But if you touch it now, you won't feel it. But when the elephant is dead, then it becomes very hard with the sun and when it's getting old. But there, it is a very rough skin. It's not that very smooth. But this is good for the protection of this animal against cold. So these animals can eat up to 400 kilograms of food a day. And from 400 kilograms, they're just going to digest about 48%. That is why my favorite animal, the dung beetles are too clever. They eat elephant droppings a lot because there is still quite a whole lot of nutrients available. Isn't that clever? That is amazing. Look at that. This is so amazing. This elephant is so very much peaceful. And Louise, the elephants, unfortunately, they don't get tired from eating all the time. Elephants can eat up to 18 to 20 hours a day. So you can see that they spend much of their time feeding. every time because the body is too big. They can weigh up to 5 tons, which is about 5,000 kilograms. So this body needs quite a lot of fuel or quite a lot of energy in order to move. That is why they don't really get tired of eating, because that is how they build up energy in order to move around. So the green bushes at this stage, they are very much rich in terms of the nutrients for these animals. So, but when the elephants are feeding like this, when they're taking off a lot of leaves, they are also pressurizing the plants. They are pressurizing the trees because these trees, for them, in order to have food production, they have to use the leaves. So the elephants is now affecting the trees because the trees won't be able to make quite a lot of food for themselves to survive. Now, let's cross over to Lauren in the Masai Mara. Apologies for that. I am still here with this elephant who is trying now to gather much food available. I was saying, when the elephants are eating like this, they are concentrating on a lot of leaves there. You can see he's not even breaking the branches. He's just now taking off the leaves. When he's taking off the leaves, it means the tree, it won't be able to manufacture the food like before because the availability of leaves too much. It helps the trees in order to get quite a lot of sunlight in order to facilitate the process of photosynthesis, which is how they make food. So the leaves are very much important by these trees. So that is why if you check, the trees, they are so bright. During the dry season, they are going to shade and take off all the leaves. Reason for them to do that is that they know the leaves, they make food available for them, and they need quite a lot of maintenance. They need quite a lot of food to survive. So they must have to cut them off so that they can minimize the demand of the food which has been stored under the ground. So that is amazing. So you can see. So you can see that these trees, we see them here all the time, very stationary, but they are very much bright. Look at that. This elephant is coming to say hi. Look at that elephant is looking at us. So you can see that these animals, you can see that these animals and the trees, they all know what they're doing here in the wild. This is so spectacular. This is amazing. Look at that. It's just feeding right here. Wildlife. So you can see that these animals can be so very much peaceful. Look, he's now using his front foot in order to break down that small piece of tree. Just listen to that. When this elephant is breaking, you can hear everything. Look at that very beautiful trunk. So that trunk can be up to 6 meters. That is quite a lot. It's too long. So I can hear they are communicating. I can hear the rumbling again. Look at that beautiful eye. So the elephants, when they're moving, you cannot hear anything. So they don't make any noise. And unfortunately, they cannot jump. Elephants cannot jump. You can stop the elephants by the fence, which is just 2 meters high. As long as the fence is electrocuted, I can promise you the elephants won't be able to jump that. That was a spectacular sighting. The elephants were so very much nice and close, and I was honored to be such very close to these elephants. So now let's quickly cross over to Steve, who is busy with trekking.
Everybody, we've just been off the vehicle trying to find one of these leopards, but they have not been found yet. I think it's somewhere in here. It's quite dense though, I'm afraid. Just going to double check where those tracks came from. If they did in fact come from Treehouse Dam, then there's a good chance they won't be headed back there. But if they didn't, then maybe they've cut through on this side and they're headed down there to drink. And maybe, because they seemed very fresh to me, maybe we'll be lucky when we get to the watering hole and we'll actually find her. This is the road to Treehouse Watering Hole. It's just over there. Give it a little bit more time to find this leopard, because I know many of you out there are very interested in some spots. So am I. Of course. Jean-Andre has just been wanting me to model my boots, which are quite good for snakes, I would say. Isn't that cool? Boot model. Well, we were going to do a lovely model session as I came through the bushes there, and then Sydney found an elephant and just delayed that entire process. One of Texan is here with his tracker, so Fanwan, we've been together trying to find any tracks there. Hang on, I'm just listening to the radio quickly. Fanwan's calling us. He's calling Texan. He might have some luck. We left him back there. We'll do a bit of a loop around here. Okay. Well, they're having a private chat. Not sure if he's found anything, but we're going to do a loop around and go back to where we were if there's no one here. There's no tracks on this road. And the tracks went into the drainage and I believe went right, which is exactly where we were looking. But just to double check that she didn't come through this way, because you know these leopards can be sneaky sometimes. Sometimes they pop out just behind you and then you find them drinking. I doubt it now. The Egyptian geese are looking very, very relaxed. There's Treehouse Watering Hole. I'll just move up a little bit more for you there, Jean-Andre. Okay, now as we scan around here to see if there are any signs of any spotted cats, let's go back to Sydney, who's having a wonderful afternoon with his elephant.
So you can see that we are still here enjoying the elephant sighting. And these elephants, they have just started excreting the droppings here on the ground. You can see these droppings are nice and fresh. And here I am expecting the dung beetles to arrive. Time management, because dung beetles, normally they come soon as possible before these droppings get dry, because they want to use them before they are dry. So you can see this one is trying to sniff the droppings like that. You see the droppings, there's some urines there as well. Gabriel, the elephants, they can be able to smell but I'm not too sure if they can be able to detect the poison on plants. But something very important you must know, Gabriel, is that the plants as a whole, each one of them has got a defense mechanism which involves some of the chemicals. There are trees which are having a very strong poison, trees such as the euphorbias, where I know not a lot of animals likes them. But what amazes me here in the bush is that sometimes the poisonous plants that we talk about, other animals do eat them. So we do have animals that has got a very strong digestibility, which can be able to eat that. I'm going to give you a good example on this. And this is something I've witnessed. There is a tree here in South Africa, which is called a euphorbia. Euphorbia has got some poison. It's called Euphorbia ingens. They call it common euphorbia. So this tree, the baboons, they eat it, but it is poisonous. And for this tree, in order to bear new branches, the new branches normally comes where the baboons has eaten. So some of the trees which are poisonous, they are poisonous to the other animals, whereas other animals can use it. So it's very much rare to find a tree which is totally avoided by these animals. So here, the elephants, they eat this, and the kudus eat these trees, but the trees do secrete tannin, which is part of the poisons trees are having to protect themselves. But these animals, they know and they don't mind it. They can manage it. That is why the animals are so quick to move from one tree to the next to avoid the level of tannin to go very high. Otherwise, it's going to become unpalatable, and they find it very difficult to digest. So the elephants just got disappeared now. We are going to carry on and see if we can find you any other interesting animal. Like I said, we are just here looking for anything because we saw that we were looking for the buffaloes which has been spotted and they are not here. So the weather is changing, it's getting very dark. I can see that the rain is promising. So when the rain is promising, the trees must be ready to absorb a lot of water. So these trees, they don't only help us to give the animals food to eat. These trees, they help us to get oxygen, they help us to provide animals with food to eat, and they also help us to conserve water. So they help to conserve water because they absorb water, and water which in turn again go back to the surface and come back in the form of precipitation. So when talking about water cycle, the trees, they contribute on that because they do what is called transpiration, which is the loss of water from the leaves when the wind is blowing. And this transpiration is what loses water from the tree to go back to the surface to build us rain. So if these trees are just, if the trees are not here and everything is deforested, there was going to be a big problem. I'm trying to sniff here. I can only pick up the elephants, the elephant droppings. Elephant has been here. So these trees, they absorb quite a lot of carbon dioxide, and which is what is causing the global warming. So the issue of global warming, the solution is planting trees as well. Instead of destroying the trees, we must have to build, we must have to plant the trees, not only during the Arbor Week, which is a tree planting week. We must have to plant trees every time. So now let's cross over to one of my colleagues.
Thanks, Sydney. Very good advice. Let's plant trees every day. You know, everyone, if trees provided Wi-Fi, we would plant them, wouldn't we? We would. Everyone's so ridiculously overwhelmed by Wi-Fi these days. Is there Wi-Fi? Is there Wi-Fi? Is there Wi-Fi? And if there's not, we go a little bit spaz in their head, don't we? 10 years ago, there was no such thing. No such thing. Nowadays, it's all about Wi-Fi. Imagine if trees provided Wi-Fi. Not that they provide oxygen, not important. Wi-Fi is important, but imagine trees provided Wi-Fi. We'd plant them. CNAC, that's a very good question. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I'm just having a little listen. There was some Franklins going crazy a moment ago. So we just had a report on the radio that Tundi's been spotted on Gowrie Main, which is just south of where we are, heading east. So Texans moved off in that direction. So we might go and follow up, but I think Tlalumba's here. She's definitely here. She might have seen me when I walked in just now, and she just moved off a little bit. But look how dense it is in there, everybody. This is a block right in the back there where Tingana killed a warthog. We've had Osana up the tree here with a kill. We've had Tundi here before with a kill. It's a perfect leopard habitat, and very difficult to find them if they're in there unless you know where they are. But Hukumuri in here as well. So definite leopard country. CDAC, I'm trying to think what animals are most affected by global warming, and that's a very good question. Very good question. I can't, off the top of my head, think that. Bees. Bees could be affected. I think bees are more affected by pesticides than global warming. But then I'm really no expert in the matter. A lot of these things are definitely insects are changing due to the changes in wet and dry seasons. Insects are decreasing at an alarming rate. So bees being one of those very important insects. I think mammals will be slower to sort of react than the smaller life-cycled creatures, the shorter life-cycle creatures. So it'll probably start from the bottom with the microorganisms and the insects, and then slowly make their way up to birds. I think reptiles will be okay. They're kind of relying on just temperatures to keep them happy. Not just that, that was a bird. But very good question, thought-provoking. Indeed. So polar bears, no doubt, are being affected quite significantly by global warming. We're seeing some very, very bad things happening to them up in the north. They start losing the ice where they used to hunt, but we don't have any polar bears here. Okay, well, I'm going to call in on the radio in a moment and see exactly what's going on with that Tundi sighting. I'm just going to give it a little bit more of one more little drive down this pathway here, because my spider senses are twitching. A twitching genre. So I could be in the lumber. She could have gone in and then come out again. I didn't see the tracks. Maybe someone drove over them. It's very possible. Single little female leopard walking can be quite difficult to find. Anyway, let's go back up to the Masai Mara with Patrick, who is busy driving, and let's ask him what animals he thinks are most affected in Africa by global warming.
These gremlins are just trying to stop me at every single turn. This has been quite the problem at Studded Drive. So unfortunately, I can't go back up to where those lions are because we wouldn't be able to physically show them to you. So I'm just going to make my way back down. We are a long way from camp, and I kind of have to make a new plan now. So I think I'm just going to bumble along back to camp, and whatever we may stumble upon, well, we will stumble upon. So I'm not sure how much you heard of what I said earlier about Steve wants to know what animal I think is most affected by global warming. Oh, polar bears, definitely. I think that's what you guys were talking about, actually. But yeah, I think polar bears would be hit pretty hard. A lot of marine life, actually, as well. One thing that really people don't tend to think about when it comes to global warming is how it facilitates invasive species. So an invasive species is a species that's been introduced to a new region and grows and reproduces and is able to make a stable population there. And quite often this has negative effects for the ecosystem. So with global warming, what this does is it actually can kind of change these environments to make them even more inhabitable by these invasive species and even start to favour them so they can really start to wreak havoc. One of these cases is actually in South Africa on the coastline. Mytilus galloprovincialis is a mussel species that is found along that coastline. Well, it wasn't originally found, but it's a very invasive species, and it has, I think, over 500 meters squared in some coastlines. Started to really impact biodiversity, and the reason that they are doing so well is because of the changes in ocean environments along those coastlines. So it's not just the direct effects of
Well, everybody, you're back with us. I do apologize about the gremlins today, but we've got some good news. Texan has managed to catch up with the leopardess herself, Thandi, and we're headed there right now. We'll be the second station, and apparently she... And I said, what's the visual like? And he said, which basically means very nice. Very, very nice. So we're going to race there quickly. We're just coming on to Gare Main now. How she got there from there is very hard to say. There's Peter from Nkoro. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Very well. Yes, thank you very much. That's Peter from Nkoro. You just needed to give me a quick high five. Here we go. Here's Callan. He's in Spain as well. So many people out here that we know. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. They just like to take photos of us. Excuse me, we might lose some signal as we go through. We're going to do it very quickly. So if you lose signal, and back again. There we go. Okay, so we're almost there. They're just on the left-hand side of the road. So they're on Djuma. So good view for us. Give us 30 seconds or so. We navigate the traffic. We wanted to find some spots, but it just goes to show how far these cats can move when you're not following them. You haven't paid attention. I thought those tracks we saw were pretty fresh, very likely from Tlalamba. Hard to say. I'm going to measure Tlalamba. Next time I see her, I'm going to measure her tracks directly and then measure Thandi's, because Thandi's got quite small feet for a leopard. When you see Shudulu, you almost have a double take. You go, ooh, that's a male. No, it's not. It's a female. Okay, so here is Texan. And I actually think the leopard is on the other side of the road. It's on the Chitwa side. Uh-oh. Are you ready, everybody? Ah, look at that. Okay, now we're going to have to park quite far away. How's that, Jean-Andre? There she is. Hello, mistress. Yes, that looks like Thandi, doesn't it? Isn't that the quintessential photograph of the Sabi Sands? And you can still see she's got a little bit of a belly. So that's why when we drive around, we're looking in all of the leadwood, all of the knob. Excuse me, I am losing my mind. Looking in all of the marula trees for just that exact image. I stop regularly to see, and she will do that to have a nap, because leopards don't want to be disturbed in having a nap. They don't only hoist their kills up trees, they also like to hide up there themselves, because there's always nosy hyenas that are trying to smell them out, and they're always under risk of a lion catching them. But if they're in a tree like that, yes, a lion could still get up, but the chances of it actually catching her are quite slim, because, well, she can move. But she's got that early warning sign of the claws on the bark. Nothing will be able to sneak up on her. Hello, Thandi. So you can see her belly is still protruding out the side. Everyone's commenting on the belly. Indeed. Indeed. So not sure what she's eaten, but she's been on Djuma for a few days. Texan found her yesterday morning, and she had a full belly. But that's the thing. That's what we've been talking about over the last week. Everyone says we've got a leopard drought, but because the conditions are so dense and so thick, the leopards are catching small prey, Deka, Steenbok, maybe young impala, and they're hoisting them within blocks. There's water nearby. They don't have to travel very far. So, for example, if they're in a block like where we were looking before, if they don't come out to drink because there's water available there, the chances of you finding them are very, very difficult without you practically driving through and just seeing them in a tree like that. Because if that tree is hidden in a drainage line, well, the chances of you spotting it are quite scarce. And here she is. And I wonder how many cars have driven past her today, because she's just here on the side of Gowrie Main. She's probably watched everyone going, hello, 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 I'm over here. She is a superstar after all. She's not shy for the camera. This is my first time seeing her in some time. Almost a month now. Let's see if she's still got those injuries. I think the injury she had was on her right inside of the shoulder. And then there was one that Lauren spotted on her hip. Don't see the injury because she's on the wrong side now. But you can see from the back, you can often, when you see Tlalamba, you can confuse, but you see the ears. Her ears are quite tattered. How is everyone doing out there? Don't forget we are interactive. We'd love to hear from you. #SafariLive. We'd also drop them in on the YouTube chat stream. Keep your questions relevant. And, well, you might hear your name broadcast. How wonderful. So the story also goes that leopards will do this. They'll sit in trees and jump on impala. I think it's probably only ever happened once in their history. Ooh, Ravinda, any signs that she could be pregnant? Okay, so you'd have to look at her mammary glands to be able to see whether she is indeed pregnant. And right now, I can't see. She's got a food belly, and I can't see the mammary glands. That's the only way for me really to tell if a leopard is pregnant. The mammary glands start to swell and she gets a little bit of a belly, but if she's full, I really don't know how. They always manage to maintain quite a good sort of look, leopards, even towards full term. But then that's also because their cubs are so small when they come out. I know everyone's wondering, because there was some discussion about it last year, about whether Thandi would have had her last litter. Maybe because she only had one, that possibly was her last litter. I know Brent and Tristan were discussing it at length. But she certainly did mate with Tingana. Lauren saw it happen on Torchwood, happen a few times. And the other day there was speculation of a male and female moving up and down in the Mawati, not far from where we've been checking. And then that afternoon, who materialized, or the next day, who materialized? Thandi in the morning and Tingana hot on her tail the next day. So it's possible that she has mated again and is, what should I say, not mated, but is possibly pregnant. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Because we know she likes to hang out on Juma. We know she's a good mum. Very good. How beautiful is she? Completely relaxed, completely at peace with the world. I wonder what she's thinking about. Ravinda, I would love it if she had new cubs again. I'm not yet ready to I'm not yet ready to let go of Tlalamba, but being a female, she will just carve a small piece of Thandi's territory out, and it seems that she's trying to do that within the middle of Juma. Maybe Thandi will move a little bit more east into Torchwood, but once we are able to establish where she's got cubs, well, then there's a very good chance we'll be able to spend a lot of time with them, because she is very good like that. But if she does have them, well, you know what the bushwalk team is going to be doing many, many days. Herbie will be working very hard, as he does. He's very good at what he does. But some news on Amber Eyes. She officially is what we believe, after some footage was shown by a landowner to us today, the mother of some cubs. And a landowner got footage of her a couple of days ago crossing Buffelshoek into Buffelshoek itself, crossing the boundary. and is just north of us there. So there's footage of her, definitely Amber Eyes. Nikki Austin, our lion expert, is in camp, and she saw the video and she is certain it is Amber Eyes. If anyone can tell a lion from a brief glance, it's her. And beautiful footage of this little sausage hanging in her mouth, but she's crossed north. So maybe the tracks Rex and I are following up on the other day were actually her coming in to take them out again, go out again. So sort of between Gallagher and Gari Cutline, sort of on the Buffelshoek line. Where is that map? It's been swallowed. But somewhere on that line, and that is, so she's north. Maybe she'll come back. We don't know, everybody. It'd be wonderful to see little cubs, wouldn't it? It would indeed. We've got to compete with the Mara. Them and all their lions up there. You might hear another vehicle joining from behind in a moment. We are on a busy road. They think we're right next to the leopard. They don't realise we've got a world-class camera. It is a... Okay, well, while we stay with this leopard until we get pushed out to the sighting, we're probably going to stay right here. Let's go back up to the Masai Mara with Patrick. I'm not even going to acknowledge these G words. I'm not even going to pretend they exist, because if you ignore them for long enough, hopefully they'll just go away. So I was getting into quite a good discussion there. I was finally getting into the flow of things, and then again they come. But back to what I was saying with the corals and global warming. So, climate change, sorry. I'll tell you why I call it climate change, not global warming, in a second. But first, to the corals. So, corals have a photosynthetic algae that lives inside of them. Photosynthetic meaning they produce food from sunlight. And what they do is they live inside the coral and are protected and have a nice home. And in return, they provide energy for the corals. But because of climate change, the sea temperature is getting too hot. So what's happening is the corals are getting stressed out and actually expelling these algae out of them, which means that they're not getting the energy they need. And because of this, they start to turn white, because the zooxanthellae, the algae, also have the pigment, hold the pigment that colours the corals as well. So they just start to turn white, lose their energy and die, unfortunately. So that is one big way that climate change is really affecting our corals. And for anyone who followed us on Dive Live, you would definitely have seen just how important corals are to an ecosystem. So we're really at a real kind of important point where we need to do something about it. And now why I call it climate change and not global warming is because it's not the world that's warming up. It's not like the whole world's just getting hotter and hotter. It's the drier places are getting drier, the wetter places are getting wetter, the hotter places are getting hotter, and the colder places are getting colder. So it's not just warming, it's a whole change in climate, which is why I prefer to use the term climate change as opposed to global warming, because it kind of gives people the wrong idea as well. And when you have the wrong idea, well, you're not really sure what to do about things as well. So yeah, without the corals, things would be pretty bleak. Cal 6, yes, it is climate change that is bleaching the Great Barrier Reef. I believe last I checked it was 2/3 of the reef that's been bleached now. So it's very, very sad. And unfortunately, I haven't actually had the chance to go up and dive the Great Barrier Reef. I've gone snorkeling near there once, but I haven't got the chance to actually go and do scuba diving there, which kind of makes me really sad. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. They just do so much. Not only do they provide refuge and food for so many species, but they even do just things that you wouldn't even expect, like the fact that they buffer waves from hitting coastline, and then that stops coastal erosion. I mean, even just little things like that, they are so important to an ecosystem. So there's my little rant on that. And also,
ever go to a coral reef and you're going to use sunscreen, please, 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 please use reef safe sunscreen. There are so many things in sunscreens nowadays that are affecting corals. It's not just climate change, it's other impacts too. Clearing of mangroves as well, that allows sediment out into the ocean. It smothers the corals. They need that light, obviously, because of the algae. Anyway, back to land, back to the terrestrial environment. So now, as I said, I am kind of just bumbling my way back to camp. There hasn't been a whole lot, just a few alleys so far. Giraffe girl, no, the G word is not giraffe. I'm not pretending giraffes don't exist. It's those pesky little G-R-E-M-L-I-N-S. Those little ones, no. Well, giraffe girl, I could try and find you another giraffe tonight on my way back, because that is a good G word. That is a G word that I want to have around me. Other G words that I like. Oh, so we're pretty much almost completely surrounded by a huge weather system, and it seems like it's kind of closing in. Behind us there's a storm, in front of us I just saw a huge thing of lightning, so hopefully it doesn't, oh yeah, hit us too soon. Well, I'm going to keep pressing on and send you over to Stephanie and Tundi.
Andy. Thanks, Patricia. We are with Tundi, another female on drive this afternoon. Dunga Beetle Man, Tundi, Patricia and Stephanie are all enjoying themselves. So Project Alpha had a question on I don't know if it was Twitter or on YouTube chat stream saying, Steve, doesn't camp life suck now that the FC girls aren't there, especially not being able to see Kirsty every day? Which I think is awesome. It's true. When Kirsty's not here, it is a very boring camp. She was here 2 weeks ago or so, and that was wonderful. She is a joy to work with, Kirsty. You are indeed. Kirsty's the one who's managing. She's the one talking in my ear all the time. We do. We cry every night knowing that she's not here. I can't believe I've said that live now. Camp life is much different now that the FC girls aren't here. It has become very quiet. Very, very quiet. And there's more boys than girls. So girls are a little bit more sort of outnumbered. Taylor was on her own for a few days. And now Louise and Nikki arrived last night, which is quite nice to sort of provide a little bit more female support. Louise being one of our FC girls as well, who lives in Johannesburg, as well as Nikki. They've come through and they are thoroughly enjoying being back in camp. And of course, no, Kirsty, no one can be you. Impossible. No one could be Tundi either. Isn't she just a remarkable queen? Looks like, who would like to, talking about crying into pillows, Kirsty, wouldn't you want to just lift her head and pull a very nice little pillow underneath there? That would be nice to do. I don't know how she would respond, though. She is normally quite snarly. A little meat pillow. Yeah, a little meat pillow. Super comfortable. Well, we're only going to be able to stay in the sighting for another few minutes or so due to the fact that we are on the main road and the leopard is on the southern side of the drainage, or should I say the boundary line. So people are queuing up, so we're going to have one more minute or two here and then we are going to be moving out. And as all of you asked earlier, I said I would find you some spots. We now need to go find an aardvark, a snake and the hyena den. So we're going to go to the hyena den and hopefully all of those creatures will be there together having a party. Wouldn't that be wonderful, Jandre? And, of course, the platypus that Kirsty would like to see. But fantastic to have a leopard up in a tree like this. Many people don't believe leopards climb trees for fun or for just to hide away, and well, clearly they do. This is, I think, Kuchava was seen by Taylor yesterday in a tree not far from here, doing exactly the same thing. They don't just do it for food, they do it as a nice refuge, good place to hide away from not only the heat, but also from any predators that might be lurking around on the ground. Kittard, I have no idea. I don't think so. I think it's only humans and whales, maybe, that go through, possibly dolphins. I don't think any other animal in the kingdom, in the world, is capable of. Maybe dolphins, whales, maybe another ape species. I think that might be it. But although I was talking about all sorts of interesting aphrodisiacs and things this morning, I'm no expert when it comes to menopause. All I know is Thandi definitely has many paws, in that she has got 4 paws, but that's the only paws I think that leopards go through. There they are, very comfortable, very relaxed. And on that note, we are going to bid the Queen Thandi a farewell, and we're going to move out of the sighting and allow somebody else to come in and join, and then we're going to head down the road to the Djuma Den. I hope you're all okay with that. We've had our fun. Very nice, 2 very nice segments with the Queen, and we're going to move out. Thanks, guys. Make some space. That's what you do. When we're on the other side, normally you can stay a little bit longer, but the traffic can get a little bit messy here. Two different radios, and cheers, guys. Okay, I'm just going to announce the radio. Next stations, leaving 2 stations with Thandi, just off the road. I'm making my way out, thank you. And we're going to head down the road. Beautiful afternoon. We've put the roof on, and I think this is what happens. You put the roof on out here, and the rain goes away. If you don't put the roof on, I get into trouble. Hey, Kirsty. Yes, get into trouble. VM, the old cam up, his favourite, or one of his classic sort of sayings was, "I'm a cam up, not a meteorologist." Oh, Paula. What animal would have the greatest impact if it weren't extinct? Well, probably another human species. There were 6 45,000 years ago, they estimate. 6 human species. Guess what happened to them? Yep, we killed them off. Of course we did. So I reckon another human species on the planet probably would have been sort of maybe less destructive than we are, but they still would have probably had a fair bit to do. That's a very good question. I mean, there were giant sloths in Australia, giant animals in North America, but I don't really think they had huge impacts on the environment. Very hard to say. There's been some really nice discussions this afternoon, and I'm trying to think. I mean, one of the birds, a bird that got extinct back. Oh. Okay, so the question I got completely wrong. Well, let's just go through this dip real quick because we could lose signal. We're going to zoom through the side. Hold on. So what organism would be most detrimental if it was extinct? Most bees, without bees. For example, most agriculture in the world is pollinated by bees. Bees, without bees. For example, most agriculture in the world is pollinated by bees. So now you've got to, when you are a farmer, they plow the land, they plant the seeds, they remove the weeds, they harvest the plants, and then they replant. But if the farmer has to alternate, that is an unquantifiable sort of thing. Unquantifiable. You can't go around with a little earbud and a little pollen in a jar and artificially inseminate every single flower that is available. It would be dead to the planet. Resources that we know of, and it is happening, everybody. Happening. China's losing bees, North America's losing bees. Africa's still got very healthy because we've got such wild varieties. They've got a huge variety of diet. Problem in North America is the minimal diet, the limited diet. They all feed on wheat or on maize, whatever it is, so the diet is limited. So if we have only one meal or one diet source, then our immune system is very low. That combined with the pesticides and agricultural agents that are added to plants has also led to the demise of bees. It's a very, very big problem. If they go, don't know what we're going to do. Don't know what we're going to do. Already they are doing quantifying studies on pollinating every single flower in your garden. Seemingly impossible. Seemingly. I'm going to go this way to the den because I think we might also bump into Tlalamba, just because that's how it works, everybody. That's how it works. This is the road called Weaver's Nest that will take us straight back to camp if we do go, but we're not going to go straight. We're going to turn left just up here. Just one more little turn past Treehouse Dam on the way through, because we might have just missed her on the way to drinking. You know, it's all about timing out here. It's all about timing. Jackson's also quite certain that the tracks we saw here of Tlalamba, he followed them both into this block yesterday morning. Tundi was fuller than she is now, but she maybe abandoned her little princess. Shame. Poor little Tlalamba. One thing I know for certain, that the world will actually improve if humans went extinct, because we are not a keystone species. Do you all know what a keystone species is? For those of you who are not sure, the keystone is the block in a archway. So archway does this, and the keystone is that block that fits in the top that has to be perfectly cut and fits perfectly. If you remove that, everything that they are living in. Okay, well, it sounds like Pat has finally managed to get over his gremlins. Let's go back up to the Masai Mara, see if he's managed to catch up on more lions he's looking for.
Yes, I have finally demolished those gremlins and seem to be back on solid ground again. And I just thought I would pull over and just let you all witness this magical, magical scene here. The sun has sunken behind the escarpment there, and the light it's putting off reflecting against those clouds is just something to behold. Beautiful sounds. This is why the Mara is so good, because it's not only the amazing wildlife they have here, it's the scenery. I mean, I'm blown away every single morning I wake up and every single night when there's a sunrise and a sunset. Even when it's overcast and cloudy like today, you still get these amazing colours, really just contrasted against those rolling plains. It's, this place has something special about it. Zach, I actually prefer the morning drive, and that is for no real reason to do with the environment itself, but it's more me. I find for some reason things just come easier to me in the morning. I don't know, I'm a bit of a morning person. I can kind of get up and get going, and so I feel more in the zone and more with it in the morning. Not sure why that is. But in terms of actually coming out to the wildlife, I prefer either morning or night, especially in a place like the Mara here, where if something could be happening in either time, because, you know, it's nice and dark and there's a lot of cover and kind of that real fresh feeling at both ends of the spectrum, you know, in the start of the day and at the end of the day. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of trouble with this earpiece here. I've had to connect to Bongay's radio, so that's why it's hanging out the back here. So I do apologise if I look a little bit silly. Anyway, let's just enjoy this sunset for just a few more moments. Go from my face to something a lot better looking. Oh, that is sweet. Absolutely beautiful. I'll just stay silent for 5 more seconds and then I'll leave off and try and find some wildlife. I wish I had 20 minutes to just sit and meditate. That is so nice. Still a lot of lightning as well coming in over this western side, sorry. The opposite end. It's kind of cleared up out that side now, which is good. I was really stressing there. I thought we were going to get annihilated by a storm, but thankfully it seems to have gone around us. That's another really kind of cool thing I like about the Murray, is you can actually see where it's raining. So sometimes if you plan it right, you can actually drive around a storm or a rain patch or something. You can visually see it and go around it, which is just like, I've never done that anywhere else in the world. I don't think you could do that in many other places in the world. There is something really special out here. Well, enough about the Mara. Let's go back to Mr. Dung Beetle in Juma.
I am now on Central, heading back, going to operate somewhere much more towards the southern part of the game reserve, which is where Hukumuri has been spotted a lot going around in that area. So now my alternative animal to look for is Hukumuri this afternoon. So here in the middle of the reserve is difficult. I cannot see any of the fresh tracks of any of the cats here, but Steve has been lucky maybe with the other guys on the other side with Tandy. So maybe we're going to be lucky with Hukumuri on the other side. So it looks like the chameleon took all my luck for the afternoon. We're supposed to see that chameleon at the end, not at the beginning. Because in my tribe, we believe that if you see something which is very rare, so the chameleon, I'm sure it has been the highlight of the game drive, but I'm telling you, it took all my luck for the day. My first chameleon of the year in Juma, my second chameleon of the season this year. Call 6, I am sniffing all the fresh droppings here, but I can't see the dung beetles, and I am getting worried about the disappearance of the dung. They are not here, not even a single dung beetle has been spotted so far. So I'm very worried about that. So maybe I'm gonna see one before we finish. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who is at the hyena den.
Well, good luck finding a dung beetle, sitters. I think it might be a little bit too cold this afternoon, but I hope you do find one. Well, we found ourselves a hole in the ground, which was maybe created by hyenas directly, or it's possible that Aardvark, there we go. Do you see how I got that in there? Very good. Aardvark came along here. He dug into the hole looking for termites, which, as we discussed before, are a keystone species. So is the aardvark. And if you remove either one of them from the system, well, ecosystem services with regards to decomposition and recycling of nutrients with regards to termites will be gone. And, well, the aardvarks create all of these lovely holes for many, many animal species, including southern rock pythons. There we go. So snakes also like to live in holes like that, and when you get lots of mongoose species in holes, you'll also have certain snakes going in to try and catch them. It is an enormous amount of stuff underneath. I'd love to be able to get a small little camera or something to be able to move it around inside to actually see the depth of the holes and the chambers and all of that, because it probably goes quite deep into the ground. Some people say it's 2/3 below the ground and only 1/3 above. Is that you making that noise, or was that I? There's hyenas coming behind us, everybody. I can hear them. Very low. Talking, speaking hyena. See if you can hear them. They're not very loud. Doesn't sound very happy. Everyone, I don't know where Plonk is or Pretty's other youngster. I haven't seen Pretty, so don't be too concerned just yet. I'm sure they will turn up. There's probably another den just over there, and we just haven't checked where that hyena is calling from. Should we go check, Chandra? Because it's not coming closer, it's just making that soft. So maybe there's actually a second den, because remember, the first few days, there was no, Pretty's cubs weren't here. It was just Plonk and those two little naughty ones. And then suddenly they were all here. So maybe, oh, here we go. There's one. There's one of them. It's not Plonk. That is... Good afternoon, Salem Elementary School and Texas Virtual Academy. Welcome to Safari Live here in South Africa. My name is Steve and I'm joined by Jean on camera, and we've got a very special surprise for you. We've got a baby hyena that has just come out of the hole. Please get your teacher to send through any questions that you might have, questions or comments. We are in the African wilderness with a young hyena there, and the hole behind them is actually the den site on the ground or in the ground where hyenas have their babies. So for it to be popping its head out like this is not very common. We heard an adult calling from behind us here somewhere. Normally it's that low that sound of the adult calling the youngster. That will encourage them to come out of the hole. And we heard it. We were actually going to go investigate to see if maybe there's not another hole just behind here. So everybody, yes indeed, this is the good cub called E.T. And if you go down just a little bit onto his back, you will see right there, that one dark line is the T. And you see that? There's a T with the top and then the E next to it, just there above his hip. Isn't that awesome? So hyenas have got unique spots. Some of us even believe that they inherit some of those spots from their adults. Oops, there we go. Everybody, who's this? This is the sibling. That's not Plonk. That is its sibling. Those are brother and sister there. They are both born to one female. And it's easy to identify this one because it's got those vertical or those parallel lines along the side. Oh, and there's another one. And look at them. They're all popping out of the hole now. There's two more little ones there. And here we go. Here comes an adult just in front of us. Wonder who it is. It looks like it might be Ribbon. Or is it Pretty? Let's have a look. She's got a very characteristic sort of mark on the ear. It does look like Pretty. Looks like Pretty. Hello, everybody. This is Pretty over here, and I think it is anyway. Michael, you want to know how long hyenas live for? Well, probably about 10 years, maybe 12 years in the wild. Sorry about the pole that we've got on the side of the car. We were anticipating rain. Well, this is Mum. This is Mum of these two youngsters. She's probably one of the second in charge hyenas in this family, in this clan. And these two youngsters I haven't seen Pretty in some time at this den, and they are very hungry. Hyenas will actually suckle for between 8 months and a year. It's a very long time. It's the longest known in the mammal kingdom for animals of their size. And can you see how Pretty's got that very, very messed up left ear? There's a few more marks on it now. There's always been a big gouge in it, but it's never looked as bad as that. But where has she been? I don't know. But there's lots of action that goes on with hyenas. They're always interacting with each other. There's always dominance happening between each other. And they've got very powerful teeth. They've got very powerful teeth. And Elaine, you want to know what hyenas eat? And well, they are carnivores. They feed on meat. And hyenas can also be very good hunters. Up in the Masai Mara, where we hope to send you shortly, they are almost exclusively hunters. But with their very powerful jaws, they're able to break open bones and also skin of animals that other animals aren't able to get to. It's one of those very cool things that hyenas can eat late into the year when other animals can't, because they'll just feed on the bones of animals that have died or have been killed out on the open plains. There we go. We've got the suckling happening. Now, this is very exciting. I do apologize about the poll. I don't want to start the car, because if we do start the car, there's a good chance that they might move. So these two are going to have to compete for mum's milk, and this is where dominance starts. You see the one who is lying down is getting the prime position, but its sibling wants to fight for that position, tucked up underneath mum's belly. The other one will have to lie facing with its bottom the other way out, the same way mum is lying. So you can see that this one is dominated. Let's see what's going to happen. Is it going to get in there and steal the position? Yes, it is. It's going to try. So these youngsters are about 5.5, 6 months now. They're somewhere in that region. So they're still dependent on mum for a number of months still before they even get to taste their first meat. They'll feed on milk from mum, and because they're able to access bones out in the wilderness for a very long time, hyenas can produce a very nice, strong, nutrient-rich milk. London, you want to know why they're called laughing hyenas, and that's because, well, they are indeed laughing hyenas. They're also called spotted hyenas, but when they get very excited, when, for example, they all come together to hunt, or they come together to chase off a leopard or some lions, then they make this very loud cackling sound, which I can't mimic for you right now. I just don't really have the ability. But they make a very loud cackling sound, which brings them all together as a family. And so that's where the name laughing hyena comes from. But they are also, as I said, called the spotted hyena. A very social animal, probably one of the most interesting mammals on the African continent, because the females are bigger than the males, and it is a female-dominated society. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, well, there are animals that they are hunted seasonally by hyena in the Mara and down in South Africa, and hyenas have to chase them very fast to catch them. But quickly, let's go to Sydney, because he's found them himself.
Quite a lot of animals are gathering at the moment as the sun is just about to get disappear. It's about the sunset now. So these animals must have to work together with different species for safety purposes. Good evening. This is Sydney Fumurani Mikosi, and I'm with you here with Senzo, who is my camera operator. We are going to be with you, and we will try by all means and show you the interesting animals. You can ask your teachers to ask questions on Twitter, #SafariLive. Anthony, that is quite a very good question. The kudu is a different species from the impala. So the kudus are big in size, and the kudus has got very big and spiral horns. So they've got very big and spiral horns. Impalas, they've got very small horns, and you can see that their horns are not that very much large. The impalas, they have got 3 different colors on the size, and in terms of the size, it's very much small. So the kudus, they can be very big and can even go up to 270 kilograms. So the impalas can just go up to 75 kilograms. You can see that they are very small. So look at that. The impalas are here with the babies at the moment, and when they're feeding together like this is when they, oh, some are even grooming. Look, those other ones are busy cleaning each other. Liliana, the impalas, they are part of the prey animals. A prey is an animal which normally get hunted by the predators. Predators such as the hyenas, as you have just been to the den just now, which is where the hyenas are staying. So these impalas, they get hunted by predators such as hyenas and predators such as the leopards. Sometimes even the lions do go for these kind of animals. So you can see it's quite a lot here. They are right by the open space so that they can have a wide vision in order to see if the predators are coming. So when they are in big numbers like this, it's not easy for a predator to single one out. They can be very safe because of a big group. The males is the ones which carry horns. The females are these ones we are seeing here, which does not have horns. Rowan, the nocturnal animals. Nocturnals are those animals who are much more active during the night. If you can check, the small animals such as the scrub hare and the rabbits, they come out after dark. Those are part of the nocturnal animals. And the animals such as the leopards, you can see them during the daytime, but they do most of their walking and hunting during the night. So they also do some of the nocturnal life. Hyenas can also be nocturnal. You can find them going up and down at night. Yes, during the day, you can be lucky and see them if there is something which has been caught. So the nocturnal animals are those which are much more active during the night. The owls, the birds such as owls, those are good examples of the nocturnal animals because it's very rare to see them during the daytime. You can see we are now joined by the wildebeests. The wildebeests are also feeding together with the impalas. So we will talk about the wildebeest and the impalas when you come back. But now let's cross over to the Masai Mara where Pat is also looking for something.
Big warm welcome to Salem Elementary and the Houston Virtual Academy. My name is Patrick. Joining me on camera is Bongay, just back from leave. And we are coming to you live from the Masai Mara National Game Reserve here in Kenya. Now, I'm sure you have plenty of questions loaded up, ready to go today, and I'm ready to answer them all. And I'm also going to be looking for some elephants to show you all tonight. There is plenty of elephants here in Kenya, and they are very easy to spot, although it might be a bit harder tonight because, as you can see, it's dark and we are in infrared right now, which means that it's not actually putting out a light that we can see, but it's putting out a light that the camera can pick up. So that's why it looks a bit black and white right now. And that is also so we don't damage the eyes of the elephants. I mean, or the animals, not just elephants. We don't want to go shining lights in eyes because it might hurt the animals. So that's why we've got this awesome technology that helps us see in the dark. Just like the nocturnal animals that Sydney was telling you about. Juliana, it does get cold at night here, so we are almost 2 kilometres, so that is about just under a mile above sea level, which means that we're very close to the equator. So that means it gets very hot during the day, but it also cools down quite a lot at night time. So right now it is pretty cold. It's probably about 60 degrees Fahrenheit right now, which is why I'm wearing this jacket. And once I pass this car, I'm going to get my spotlight out so we can have a look around and hopefully we can see a nice big alley for you all. And if there is anything else that you would like to see specifically, please let me know and I'll try my hardest to find it and tell you about it and teach you whatever you would like to learn. Well, I continue my search. Let's go back down to South Africa, where Steve has some cool hyenas to show you.
Well, welcome back to South Africa, boys and girls, and we have also changed our colour because it is starting to get dark, so we're going to be using the infrared as Pat has been talking to you about. And well, this is Pretty, second in charge at the den, with her two youngsters enjoying the presence of Mum and no doubt their full bellies. They've both managed to get into a comfortable position and nice and safe there. Mum is always vigilant, but they can suckle for half an hour, even up to an hour and a half sometimes, non-stop. Can you imagine that? Hello, Andrew. You want to know if the cubs eat anything other than mother's milk? Well, essentially what happens is hyenas aren't really well known for bringing food back to the den because of the social standing that they have. So if a female that's not one of the dominant females, she brings food back for her youngsters, that food will get stolen and eaten by those, even the youngsters of other females that are higher ranking than her. So it's really only the queen or the matriarch who could bring food back and her youngster will eat it. Otherwise, the rest of them, they just drink milk until 7-8 months. Maybe then they'll follow Mum to a kill to go get some meat. But until then, it's a very, very milk diet. But as I said before, because of the amount of bone in the diet, there's very, very nutrient-rich milk that is provided. Hello, Eric. You want to know on average how many cubs hyenas have? And the average is 2. So what you're seeing here is the norm. The matriarch, whose name is Corky, is not here at the moment, but she's only got 1. We don't know why. Sometimes there might be some death that happens, maybe. Hyenas giving birth is also quite tricky sometimes. There's also lots of stories about cubs, maybe very early on, actually even killing each other. So I've never seen it, but there are stories about it. The competition between them can be quite fierce at a young age. And when hyenas are born, very interestingly, they are born with their teeth. Imagine that, already able to bite from the day they're born. So that's one of the unique characteristics of these guys. And they're very tough, and they need to survive in a landscape where there are lions and leopards and other hyena. And if they're not tough, well, then they won't survive. Hello, Serenity. You want to know if hyenas can be tamed? And I don't think any wild animal really can be tamed to truly. I know there are people that have tried to tame hyenas, but it's not something I know too much about. I don't know why anyone would want something like that tamed. It's not a domestic dog. Dogs, which derive from wolves, have been around for a very long time, and well, they've been sort of bred to be where they are, whereas these hyena you see here have got no domestication gene in them at all. So they are wild animals. Dogs that we know of were tamed from wolves a very, very long time ago. And the ones that were aggressive towards man weren't bred with. The ones that were more docile towards man were bred. So they kind of changed their sort of nature over a very, very long time of breeding between certain individuals to get all sorts of types of shapes, sizes, and obviously behavior. So hyenas all look the same. They're all wild animals, and ideally wild animals shouldn't become pets. Okay, well, as we watch these very hungry cubs drink from Mum's milk, let's go back a kilometre or 2 north from where I am, where Sydney is still with his hyena.
We've got a very beautiful wildebeest at the moment. This wildebeest is part of this impala herd. There's quite a few wildebeest around there. They are both helping each other. When talking in terms of the eyesight, this animal we are seeing in front of us does not have a good eyesight. He normally relies on the other animals in order to watch out for the predators. But he is also well gifted because he's got very good sense of smell. Sometimes you will see him together with the zebras. Zebras and the wildebeest, they have got a good relationship which is influenced by his poor eyesight and the poor sense of smell of the zebra. So it's a good combination. When they are feeding together with zebras, another one is responsible of the eyesight, whereas the another one is responsible of the sense of smell. So the wildebeest does have some of the glands here on the side of their face. Jordan, they can be able to run very fast, the wildebeest, and you can see there now they're all scratching against that tree because here by the side of their head they have got something which is like a gland where they can give out a scent and put it against the branches and the trees. So there, I'm sure they are scratching and leaving behind a scent. Now it's quite a lot. You can see there that it's not just 2 or 3, it's quite a lot of them. The impalas, unfortunately, these kind of animals, I have never seen them migrating. The thing is, both impalas and wildebeest, here in South Africa, they don't migrate at all because they are in the closed game reserves and they are in the closed national parks. So it's unlike the Masai Mara where pet is, which is more open and animals can be able to cross from one country to the other. So here, unfortunately, there is no migrations, but there is kind of movement which takes place during the dry season, which shows us that these animals, they can be able to do migration if the fences are not there, because they do move around during the winter season according to the availability of food. Look at that. So sometimes they do experience the parasites, so they must have to act like that in order to get rid of the parasites. You can see they're listening. So you can see these animals have got some beautiful stripes. Zoe, the animals can be able to see during the dark. So these animals, if you check, sometimes at night, if you shine a spotlight on them, you will see they can reflect the light. So the animals have got good sense of smell to detect the predator. They can also see at night, but at night they don't have a good eyesight. They can see, but not very well. So predators can see very well during the night. So now let's quickly go to the Masai Mara where migration is taking place. Pat is having the hyenas.
Well, we were just following behind this hyena here, and it was just leading us along the road, and it's just kind of popped off into the grass on the side here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get it now. It did kind of, yeah, it went off into the long grass. Ah, darn, that's unfortunate. Oh well, at least you have some hyenas with Steve in Juma anyway, so there's no shortage of them tonight. So, I am still looking for some elephants though. I think I'll come into them pretty soon. So at night time, they do tend to stay a little bit more further this way. So hopefully, once we make our way down there, there will be some nice big grey animals. Now, did you all know that elephants are the heaviest animal, well, the heaviest land animal in the world? They can get up to 6 to 7 tons. Now, isn't that huge? That's definitely a lot more than any of you or I weigh. And I did get to spend a lot of time with a big family of elephants this morning. No, yesterday morning. So hopefully we can get another cool experience like that, and I can show you all the little baby elephants. Now, sorry about this, guys, but Bongay, can you just check that my comms cable is plugged in properly? I'm just getting some crackly audio here. Oh, here we go. We found one. Woohoo! Just to my left here, on the side of the road, we have what looks to be about a middle-aged elephant. Well, not middle-aged, but kind of reaching that adult's phase. It's not a huge elephant. It's definitely not a full-grown adult. So I wonder where the rest of the herd are. I'm just going to turn my lights off here. I'm going to have a quick look around and see if I can find the rest of the herd. Now, I did say how heavy elephants can get, but this one isn't even close to that. I would say that this one would still be a good 1 to 2 tons though, which is still very, very heavy considering it's a small version of the animal. And no, this one just seems to be roaming on its own. So I wonder if it's a young male. Oh no, this is a female. I remember seeing this one. Because it has those funny tusks. You can see how those tusks are kind of crossed over. Isn't that weird? And what's cool about the tusks in elephants is that they are left and right, just like you or I are left and right-handed. So they will use one tusk more than the other because they prefer it. And you can actually tell which hand they like to use because you'll notice that that tusk is a lot more worn down. You can see there's got a bit of a wet patch on the side of its face there, and it's not tears, it's not anything that's made it wet, it's actually a gland that sits behind the eye and it secretes something. It's called a temporal gland, and it secretes this liquid, and they do it whenever they're excited or when they're stressed out or anything that's kind of a big kind of ecstatic emotion. That is when they start streaming. And it also happens to big bulls as well when they're ready to mate. Isn't that funny though, her crossed over tusks, and now and now she's feeding with her trunk underneath it. Could you imagine picking up a thing of grass with your nose and putting it in your mouth? It's quite funny the way they feed, and that they use their nose for so many different things, or their trunk, which is the equivalent of our nose. We can see it grazing away there. So elephants will graze, which means that they will eat grass off the ground, but they will also feed by another mechanism called browsing. And what browsing is when they eat from the trees rather than from the grass. So if you see it reach its trunk up to a tree and maybe get a nice tasty marula fruit, then that would be called browsing. But when it's grabbing grass like this, that's what we call grazing, just like with cows in a farm. Wow, this big long tusk. Now, I did miscall this one because it's standing in a bit of a ditch, so it looked a lot smaller than what it actually was, but this is actually a full-grown female. She has a young elephant somewhere. I remember seeing her with it the other day, but where that one has gotten to, I'm not too sure.
Well, welcome back to South Africa. I do apologise about Pat not hearing what's going on. We have earpieces connected to our vehicles, which then obviously our director, who's very far away, talks to us, and well, sometimes these things just don't work. But anyway, we are now zoomed right in on one of the little cub's tiny little feet. Isn't that just precious? Little spotted hyena foot. The two youngsters haven't moved. They've both nestled in, and they both have got access to pole position with mum now. One a little bit more comfortable than the other one, it seems, but enjoying themselves thoroughly. Hello, Tanetta. You want to know if hyenas mate for life? Well, hyenas are an interesting one because they have the family here, so what they call a clan. You have the dominant females, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there'll be a couple males that come from another clan that are brought in, and they will mate with the females over a period of time, but it's definitely not for life. You'll notice that they might have a favorite one, or one might mate with more than one of the females, but it's not a couple pair off, if that makes any sense. Whereas wild dogs, that often can be the case until one of them is obviously injured or leaves. But hyenas are not the case. Same with lions. It's all about the males coming in and out, not necessarily them being there all the time. But this is Corky, not Corky. Corky's a very close friend, Pretty, and she is a very pretty hyena, although she's got a very scraggly left ear. Wow. Everett, you want to know what the hyena population in the world is? Well, I can't be sure, but I can tell you one thing for certain. It's more than 10. That's the only answer I can give you. I mean, the Djuma clan is made up of 5 females. There are 5, I believe now 6 youngsters, and there's an unknown number of males coming in and out. So already we're looking close to 15 hyena in this clan alone. So, and that's only one in the Sabi Sands. In the Greater Kruger, there's many, many, many clans. But hyena in Africa are restricted to conservation areas. Outside of conservation areas, there's enormous conflict with humans. So there's not that many of them around the world apart from in conservation areas. The same goes with lions. You don't find them outside conservation areas because unfortunately there's way too much competition with people. I would like to see more hyena. And all the way up in the Masai Mara, they are the same species up there. But then as you go further north, they sort of start becoming a different species, the striped hyena. So the spotted hyena occurs all the way from the Mara, all the way down East Africa to South Africa. And their area has been reduced hugely due to agriculture and farming. And so only in large conservation areas where we have wild populations of prey animals, such as wildebeest, impala, and the like, do we have wild populations of hyena. And the big mound on the back that you can see, there's a hole. That's where the hyenas will come and breed. There are a few more youngsters in there at the moment, but they haven't popped out again yet because their mums aren't around. Anthony, I've never ever seen a hyena jump. You want to know how high they can jump? I really don't know. I've never seen them jump. They're not designed for jumping. But we did have, with Tristan, one of our guides last year, we had a leopard with a carcass, an impala hanging out of the tree. And it was probably about this high off the ground, maybe about there. The hyena was jumping up. I actually have seen them jump, but that was on footage. Jumping up and trying to grab the meat to pull it down. But it was probably only jumping about this high off the ground. Not a very good jumper. Leopards, though, very, very good jumpers. Hyenas are not built for jumping. They're built for running very long distances at quite high speeds. That is them. They are marathon runners, endurance distance runners. And that is how they catch their food. They basically tire them out, and then they bite them a few times and eventually eat them. It does sound sometimes very cruel, but it is what hyenas do. We are very blessed to be able to spend time around the den site. Oh, look at those teeth. Ooh. There we go. That little youngster's got right in there. Okay, she's going to stand up. She's had enough. She's had enough. Off we go. Let go. Let me move around. And she's going to walk off. Maybe it's time for her to go and get some food. And while we watch her walk off, let's go back over to Sydney, who is driving in the darkness.
You can see that now I have got my spotlight on at the moment in order to try and detect any of the eyes from the animals which are much more active during the night.
welcome back. We apologise for the technical issues that are plaguing us this afternoon, but that's okay. We are still here with our hyenas. They're just over here somewhere. The youngsters are going back towards the hole. There we go. Mum's decided she's had enough. Let's have a listen. Some noise is about to happen. Some low whooping sounds happening around the den. I think it's from the one female who went over to see the other female. Should we go around that side and have a look? It might be the one adult coming down to get her youngster on the other side. You might see some lights there. There's another vehicle coming to join us. This is a hive of activity. We might just try and move around. You can just see them in the background there. We're going to have to move if we want to see them. Another female joined. Her name is Ribbon, and she is apparently yesterday. Taylor saw her with a brand new little baby who's probably hiding somewhere in there. But anyway, while we try to get into another position, let's go back up to the Masai Mara with Pat, and hopefully he can hear us this time.
Well, we're still here with these two beautiful elephants. The crooked-tusked one and the smaller one. And we can see them grazing here on the side of the road very peacefully. And you might wonder what grazing is. Well, if you've ever seen cows, how they go through and they just eat lots of grass off the ground, that is basically all grazing is. And now there is another type of feeding that elephants use, which is called browsing, which is when you see them put their trunks up into the tree and maybe grab a nice marula fruit or some leaves or something tasty off the tree. So that is called browsing. So there's two different types of feeding with herbivores or plant eaters, and that is browsing and grazing. We're seeing this one get a nice big tasty bit of grass there. There is no shortage of grass here in the Mara for them to eat. Bryce, yes, elephants do have good eyesight. They have good senses all around. They can hear quite well and they can smell quite well. And they can also feel as well. So they can feel things with their trunks like vibrations in the ground. So they're really in tune with their senses, elephants. And they're also very good at using that trunk. There is about, maybe 10,000 more muscles in an elephant's trunk than we have in our entire body. Everett, elephants can run actually quite fast. Now, my conversions to miles per hour aren't great, but about 25 to 30 miles per hour, if my conversions are correct. So they can actually run quite fast for their size, which can make them pretty dangerous as well. They can really, have an impact. And you can see, if you've ever watched an elephant go through bushes, you can see the path of destruction that they leave behind. So they're very big, strong, powerful animals. And considering their size, can actually move quite quickly, faster than you or I can run when they're at full speed. These ones are not interested in running at all, though. They're just trying to get a nice feed for the night. Leah, are elephants aggressive? Not generally. They can be aggressive, or not so much aggressive, but they can be defensive. And you've got to learn to read signs of an elephant. So when they start to get really anxious and upset, or like they're going to do something aggressive, they will put their tail up really stiff and their ears will flap out and they'll put their head up and stand really tall. And that is a telltale sign that an elephant is not happy. But generally though, if you respect them, they will respect you. we're going to stay here with these beautiful big creatures and send you back down to South Africa, where Steve has still got those hyenas.
Welcome back. Well, here they are coming back to the hole just in front of us, yeah? Another vehicle. You can see their lights have just come to join us. And there's the little youngsters. We're hoping that Ribbon, who's the new mum, is going to come to the hole and then let her little youngsters come out, because she's apparently got brand new little black babies. It'll be very special to see. And these ones that you can see are about 5.5 months old, as I said. There we go, there's the adult. Now she might call and we might see her new little ones, which will be very exciting. And we're ready. Let's watch to see if anything pops its head out. And that is Ribbon. Is it Ribbon? It was Ribbon earlier. This might be Pretty again. Let's just have a look at her ear. It's unlikely that it would be Ribbon cleaning the sibling of someone else. So I think that might be Pretty who's come back again. Yes, it is Pretty. Very characteristic ear. Giving a proper licking on the head. I can't imagine what that must smell like. Hyena's breath. Ooh. They are carnivores, but they're also scavengers and have a very strong tummy, able to feed on all sorts of food. Hello, Emma. You want to know how hyenas defend themselves? Oh, look at the hole. Look at the hole. Back to the hole. There's little ears popping up there. There were 2 little ears that popped up. So, Emma, how the babies defend themselves is they hide in holes like this in the ground. And the adults, actually, they can run away from anything that is too dangerous, but they're also quite well known to sort of gang up together as a unit to defend themselves against any predators. They are very... There we go. There's a little head. Hello. Hello, little one. Hello. It's just too inquisitive. Now, these are 2 1.5-month-old ones or so. We've seen, there should be 2 of them. They're very, very, very cute. They're quite dark in colour, much smaller. But my colleague saw a brand new cub yesterday. This one by my foot again, Jean-Andre. They're not shy, these hyenas. It was right here next to me, right over here. A little bit more right. There he is. Hello. He's come to sniff my shoe. They're very inquisitive when mum's around. And very naughty, in fact. So hyenas, they will fight with lions, they'll fight with leopards, and often they gang up on leopards. So many hyenas together are quite formidable against leopards. Elaine, you want to know how they survive in winter? Well, it doesn't get that cold out here. They will still have babies in the winter time, and they'll still use den sites like this in the ground. But the winter time is actually a good time for them because there's almost no vegetation. So she's getting a bit upset with her youngster there. But there's almost no leaves in the grass. So it's a good time of year to catch food, actually. Winter time is the time of plenty for a lot of these big carnivores. And that is Pretty. She's not happy with her youngster. She said, I've given you enough milk now, leave me alone. Let's see if we get any little ones popping out again. Some growling happening over there. That is her. She's telling the world she's not happy with something. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't speak hyena. What's going on behind us here? Something going on behind us. There we go. Okay, it looks like Corky might be here with Plonk, everybody. There we go. So the matriarch now has arrived. The one on the left, and that little youngster is her son. That is the queen. That's her second in charge. And there we go. This is what hyenas like to do. I'm sorry they're behind the car, everybody. But that's what they like to do. When they see each other, they like to show each other their most private parts. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, what's going on? Something is in the darkness here. Not sure what. It's not unknown for lion and leopard to come and sneak up on hyenas. Not unknown. And they can be caught out in the open. So the youngsters defend themselves by running back into the holes, and the adults will maybe try and chase away other predators. Hello tonight. Well, in the daytime it's very hot, so you want to know what they do then. They quite often will just be sleeping outside the den or in the shade, or sometimes even in a little puddle or pond of mud nearby where they can keep nice and cool. Here we go. We've got all three of the younger, or should I say the 5.5-month sub-adults here, which we're very excited about. Everybody's been quite concerned because Plonk, who is the queen's son, has been missing for a couple of days, but he's back. There he is. We all saw him. Very good. Well, there we go. There's a little youngster, 2 of them. How fantastic they've come out to play for you today. Boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed this wonderful afternoon game drive with us, coming to you live from South Africa and Kenya. Thank you for your questions and your comments. I hope we get to see you all again very, very soon. Keep doing your homework. Keep feeling the love for the African wilderness. And, well, we will see you again soon. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. We will see you again next time. And that's it for hyenas. Goodbye.